All right. All right.
Why don't we just all be very British today?
No, let's not, please. For Doug and I's sake. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 54, season 54, excuse me, Spine Chill. We have a great, excellent episode for y'all today. We're going to talk about Crow Country. We're going to talk about the console tier list. We're going to be wrapping that up finally, as well as a ton of other subjects, a litany, if you will.
News. We've got news roundups.
That's right. Gary, one of our co-hosts, the Hot Cross you just heard, he's over there.
Hi.
And if you're on audio only, I'm sorry, I'm pointing right now. We've also got Doug, Running Man.
Hey, hello, hi.
And Cinebeats.
Hello.
I'm here. We all did so good.
We all are here.
I think we did great.
Whew, the intro's over. All right.
Good intro.
Out of the park.
So what do you guys want to talk about now?
How you guys doing?
I'm tired, man. I just got back from TwitchCon. Spent the weekend in San Diego, which I saved on cash and convenience and drove down from Seattle, which is about a 20-hour drive. Yeah, it's a little brutal, but it was worth it. It was nice to have the car. It was, again, nice to save the money since, you know, traveling can rack up expenses pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I went to In-N-Out 6 times while I was in San Diego.
Oh my god.
We went every day, so that was pretty cool.
What would you order at In-N-Out? What's your In-N-Out order?
I get the Flying Dutchman, which is just the burger and cheese, like on
The
its
Flying
own.
Dutchman?
Yeah,
That's
they
really
call
what
it
it's
a
called?
Flying Dutchman. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. So my standard order is 6 Flying Dutchmen, but because of all the walking we were doing, I was ordering 7 Flying Dutchmen.
Whoa.
That's funny. In my head, I was like, he's definitely a double meat guy.
Yeah, yeah. If I was on bread, I would do the double animal style. If I was on bread, but because I'm not on bread right now, I was just with the meat and cheese.
The codes for like American eating, I'd have a double. You know, like weird.
Yeah,
Animal
double.
style.
It refers to the burger and the bypass. Yeah, it's cool. So, yeah, TwitchCon was fantastic.
We actually put stuff on our food here. Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
Oh, no, you're fine. TwitchCon was fantastic. Got a chance to
get one in.
Got to meet a ton of people for the first time. I got to meet Otz, was really cool. It was like a highlight. I got to meet Sequisha, who's not really a DVD guy, but definitely one of my favorite content creators. So that was really cool. I got to see a lot of my community. Yeah, overall, I would say that obviously you guys were missed, but overall, I think that the convention I think last year was kind of like not a great. I don't think any of us had a real positive like experience with the con itself. Like I think we had fun doing stuff, but not like the actual convention. I think this year was kind of a return to form in terms of the convention. Like it was, in my opinion, the best TwitchCon I've been to from a pure convention standpoint. And it's not easy for them to follow up because I just was at PAX West, which is my favorite convention. So yeah, it was, and TwitchCon actually kind of delivered. So I really enjoyed it. I didn't hear or see anything insane happen in terms other than
that's always a good sign.
Like, nobody had any like spinal injuries or
that's good.
No,
I did hear there was some safety chat about like looking after your drinks at parties and stuff.
Yeah, I heard there was issues at the blurb party, right? There was like multiple reports.
Yeah, the VTuber thing.
Blurb?
Isn't that?
Blurb? It's like a third party Twitch.
Isn't that VTuber thing, or am I mixing it up?
No, I think it's a general stream thing now. It's like Blurb is like, I think it's like a kind of a Stream Elements like bot type thing with like you can do like sound alerts on stream and other.
Yeah,
I think Blurp is a joke from Journey to a Savage Planet, the video game. Like I've not heard the word Blurp in a while. I think that's
so.
It sounds to be like the latest like app, really the latest like dating app. Yeah, I met her on Blurp.
Like, I met her on Blurp. I think we're getting married, bro.
Blurp.
Blurp sounds like gluing 2 disgusting words together, one of which is burp.
Well, it's ERP, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, is that?
Yeah.
ERP, yeah. It's the title track for the website is Cultivate Your Community with Blurp Memes, Emotes, and AI Text-to-Speech.
That's such a bad name, though.
Just
I
blurp all over your community.
I agree. That's a bad
Just take a big steaming blurp on it.
Blurp. Sounds provocative, Gary. Yeah, and then outside of TwitchCon, because we haven't spoken in a while, did some gaming off stream. I played through Silvio 2 to follow up on one of our book club games, Silvio 1, which I wasn't super impressed with Silvio 1 when I played it, but I want to revisit because I really enjoyed Silvio 2, and now I'm planning to play Silvio 3. So
I'll be right there with you soon. I'm going to play that for October. Silvio Black Waters.
Yeah,
on
it's
the list.
interesting. No spoilers, but I'm wondering how Black Waters ties into the ending of Silvio too. You know?
Yes, I am wondering the same thing because when it was announced, I was like, how are they going to make a third game?
Yeah.
It seems impossible, but I guess I'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out. Looking forward to that. And then I've got Lollipop Chainsaw and Dead Rising remastered on the short list to play soon. I'm looking forward to both of those games a lot. And then of course,
Nice.
Dead by Daylight Chaos Shuffle went live today, and they have triple blood points, so I'll be playing a little bit of that as well.
I've
Cool.
heard there's a bug with Chaos Shuffle where you're only getting like tier 1 of the perk.
Yep,
Is that right?
Absolutely. All four
I think that
perks are
should
tier
just
1.
stay
They should
in
just, yeah,
place.
leave
though.
that.
It's kinda fun.
Leave it as
Nobody
is.
ever uses tier 1 perks ever. Might as well just
Yeah.
have them on. It's
Awesome.
like it's
Awesome
more
to use it.
chaotic. Yeah.
I'm about it. Yeah.
Or what about random ranks?
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, 1 through 3. You never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
I think all jokes aside, I think the zanier the better with these game modes. Like the more light they can make. Because again, I think we'd all agree that that's kind of like the fundamental issue with Lights Out is that it's like not silly or fun at all. It's just like
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
unpleasant,
I
you know?
played it. I played it for one day. So I was just like, oh, sorry, let's find out what it's like. And I had fun, to be honest. It was quite fun because I hadn't played DVD in like a month. But
Yeah.
oh my god, like there was, you'd basically either get like a fun killer or the other 50% of the games would be just miserable sweat. So many
Yeah.
legions.
Yeah, it's like anything you can do that's obnoxious, they're gonna do. So it was like nothing but legions and dredges and ghost faces that are just like taking advantage of the darkness.
Right.
I think I had a hit tweet, like a little mini like DVD viral tweet last week because I tweeted cracking a joke about it being 400% blood points for Survivor, like them begging survivors to play the mode.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty funny. It kind of like says it all about the satisfaction level of who's playing the mode. I think it's a fun like thing to check out. I love the aesthetic of like the Castlevania stuff. The tie-ins were great, but it's not. I had to slog through the event tome. I forced myself to play through the tome, and then I stopped playing it. So
Yeah.
it's just not very pleasant.
Do killers use perks in that mode? I can't remember.
No,
Is it a perkless
no,
mode?
everything.
Yeah.
Everything's perkless, no offerings. It's like that's the other thing too. Is I know it's like it's just the points are so lame. Like you can't use offerings, and even if you're at 400% blood points, you're getting like
Right.
15,000 points per game as Survivor. So like
See,
you
I
do
like the
better.
candles. The candles were cool.
That
It
was neat,
pointless,
yeah.
but I liked them.
It was neat. It was great because when they used the candles on, I could find them really easily when I was playing Killer. That's my favorite.
I'm gonna reiterate the point that I've made previously. They should just have Chaos Shuffle just embedded innately in all these modifiers. Lights Out, 2v8.
True.
They should all just be Chaos Shuffle.
True. I don't disagree even a little bit.
Yeah. See, that
Very
way,
nice.
you don't take away all the fun. But, oh well. They'll do what
Yeah.
they'll do.
So what have you guys been playing? What have you guys been doing?
Oh,
What's
I've been
Um,
playing what's it called? Tavern Manager Simulator.
Ooh.
I love that game. That game slaps. I know you've played it, Sino.
I was gonna say, is that the same one that I've played? But yeah, okay.
yeah. It's got like Twitch integration. Oh, it's so good. I love it. My tavern looks brilliant now. I like revamped it all today. I've been really enjoying it. It's a bit stressful, but I love it.
Nice.
That
sounds
aside
fun.
from that, yeah, I've been playing some like I think last time I mentioned briefly that I played like Mika, the Witch's Mountain, and a few other like cute games that have been coming out. Yeah, I've been really enjoying like my variety era. It's been really enjoyable. I don't know what else I've been playing.
Yeah, I'm also in my variety era. It's been great.
Yeah, I played The Fridge is Red and a bunch of other like little horror games like Missing Hiker and
Ooh.
Mimic Search.
I thought Fridge's Red was really mediocre.
I thought it was kind of mid. It varied. Some of it I was like, oh, this is cool, and then other bits I was like, oh. There was one of the levels where I had to get in an elevator, and I kept breaking the sequence
Yeah.
because it had.
Yeah.
They made if statements to make it so I have to close the the restroom door before I could use the toilet, but no if statements to make sure I didn't break the sequence.
Yeah. I just thought it was horribly boring, but
But
Nice
Missing
thought, I guess.
Hiker and Mimic Search, if you haven't played those games slap.
I have
thought they
played
were
Missing
great.
Hiker. I thought that was all right.
They're like
Yeah, I
really
haven't
short,
played
they're
Mimic
free,
Search, though.
and they were so good.
Yeah. So now, how
Yeah.
about you?
apart from Crow Country, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
What else have I been playing? I don't know. I can't really remember. I've been kind of sick and a bit out of it, to be honest with you. So I haven't been playing like a lot of stuff. But so Final Fantasy 16. But
Oh,
it looks...
did you get it? Because that's out on Steam now, isn't it?
Yes, it's finally out on PC. It looks fantastic. But I hope that the combat system gets like a bit of depth to it, because right now it feels like I kind of just roll over everything by like mashing the buttons, and even things like it's kind of more like a spectacle fighter than it is an RPG at the moment, so it's a bit more like Devil May Cry, but those games have like kind of combos or things that you have to think about.
Is it a bit like 15 in that sense? Because 15 sometimes I felt
A
like
little bit.
It looked very pretty, but it felt very kind of flat, the combat. Like, it was fine, I got along with it enough, but
yeah, it's a little bit like that. I kind of feel like a lot of the time I just sort of like roll over things by using my little like Phoenix combo thing, and it's not even like... When I played Devil May Cry 5, I was quite impressed by how much I had to think about using the different tools of the characters, whereas so far in this, it feels like I just kind of go towards things, I use the dodge button when they try and strike at me, and then I just like blow them up. So it's a little bit
like a
too
hack and slash.
streamlined. Yeah, if it's going to be a hack and slash, it needs to have a bit more depth, but I'm also very early into it, so it might get like that. It looks phenomenal. Like, it looks like what we imagine games would look like in the future. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it is gorgeous to look at, but I hope... I guess for me... When I play a Final Fantasy game, I want it to be an RPG. So I was kind of hoping it'd be more like Final Fantasy VII Remake, where although it's real time, it still feels like when you're like choosing a strategy, it like does the slowdown thing when you're like selecting a magic spell, and it looks really cool. And I still feel like I have to be strategic in that, whereas in this, I feel like it's just like, I win, yeah. So we'll see, but
I think my problem...
play.
I think my problem with 16 is because it's taken so long to come out on Steam, which I don't understand why they did it this way, where I think it should have been on Steam initially. I'm not paying full price for it.
Yeah. It's actually...
What do they fucking think?
Square Enix recently said that 7 Remake and 16 have underperformed sales-wise, and I think in the future, one of the big things they've said is like, no more, it only comes out on PlayStation for like a year or two before PC, because it's like not working well for them, so...
Because like, I'm not going to buy it for full price now, because I'm bitter that I've had to wait so long anyway.
Right. I just asked like Sega. Sega started putting Yakuza on PC, and they were like, oh my god, we're getting like tons of sales from PC. So now Sega games come out on PC really quickly, like at the same time, basically. So
yeah, I'm glad PC is finally starting to get the respect that it's deserved for a long time. We've had to suffer through so many like shoddy PC ports over the years where it was just an afterthought for so many companies. But it seems like finally, now that they're bringing like PlayStation exclusives over, like God of War Ragnarok just came out on Steam the other day, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit, I might buy that.
And they got the Horizon games on there, and but almost all of them.
That'll be such a big announcement when it happens, though.
Yeah, I think actually, as we're recording this, I think State of Play is happening or something like that.
Oh yeah, because I saw it was trending on Twitter, like Resident Evil 9, like everyone's getting excited. But
oh no, am I missing the trailer? My live reaction. Resident Evil 9. I mean, yeah, I'm automatically in for Resident Evil, but yeah, a lot of people are coping with every State of Play, and it's just like, this will be the one. They announced Bloodborne PC port, and they never do. But I'm glad that they're finally, overall showing respect to PC. It's about time. Yeah, it seems like such an obvious move, but
especially. I think a lot of Japanese companies, because console gaming has been a bit stronger there, they haven't moved to PC quite as much as a lot of like Western gamers did for a long time. They've been a little bit slower to realize that, like, especially for these companies like Sega and Square Enix that have a very international player base, you really are limiting the amount of people that can buy your game by not porting it to PC. But there's more of a disconnect because in Japan, there's still more of this kind of like people like to play on controller, they like to play on console a little bit more. Although I think the Japanese market's moved towards PC a bit more, but
it seems weird to me because like isn't surely Final Fantasy 14's biggest player base is PC?
Yeah. Which again, if Square Enix just looked at that, they'd be like, we should capitalize on that, you know?
I mean, MMOs are mostly a PC thing, though, right? So that's probably a little bit of an outlier, I would imagine.
Although Final Fantasy 14 is commonly played on PlayStation, and it has a lot of controller support for that reason, I guess, because they knew that in Japan that's still the way that a lot of people like to play. But a lot of people play controller and on PC too.
I would just think, you know, Final Fantasy 14 is such a big phenomena in the world. They'd be like, these are the people we need to sell 15 and 16 to.
Yeah,
they're now our base.
I'm a bit surprised because Final Fantasy 16 story reminds me a lot of Game of Thrones. So it's like, it's very gritty. The characters say like fucking shit a lot, even though they look impossibly beautiful. It doesn't feel like the usual high fantasy anime kind of thing that they usually do. So again, it's kind of surprising that they have only had it on like Sony consoles with this kind of.
I did see one. Is it the game director? I think he requested that people not make mods for Clive.
Don't make inappropriate.
Don't make sexy Clive mods, please.
Oh,
it's
God.
like, come on, you know what's gonna happen.
Well, somebody already made a mod where they got rid of his facial hair, and I'm like, I'm terrified of this. Put it back.
Oh, does it look weird about facial hair?
It does look a little. Actually, it doesn't look that bad, but I'm just like, why? Why have you done this? But I think he meant things like, for instance, there is like an LGBT character in the game. It's like not hidden or anything like that. So I think he's thinking about don't mod the character out or something like that. Is more what he meant. It's not like horny mods because like the characters are beautiful for a reason. And they even joke about
that. I just saw a lot of artists on Twitter tweeting in response their naked Clive art.
Yeah, I think that was like a joke. Like it wasn't actually supposed to be done. Because like there's a cutscene where Clive gets captured and then he's naked anyway, and Sid like makes jokes about him being handsome and stuff like that. So it's like I don't think it was more don't make horny stuff. It's like don't be gross kind of thing or don't be hateful. But I mean, you know, a lot of mod websites have had a lot of kind of discussions about what mods to allow and what to like ban outright to, and I haven't really like kept up with a lot of that.
I fixed Ada Wong's face.
Oh my god.
It was all busted before, but I fixed it. I gave her a pouty lip.
Oh, such losers.
Yeah, there was a lot of that with Resident Evil, if I recall.
Yeah. I fixed Ashley Graham's face. I gave her a skirt with panties underneath. Yeah. That's what the game was missing. I fixed it.
John, what have you been up to? How's your week been?
It's been good. I've been playing through Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh yeah, so you tweeted about that.
Yes, very good game. I am kind of mad that I waited so long. But it's very, very good. Been having a great time with it. I'm probably not even a third way through the game, but I've been taking my time with it, trying to, you know, explore through it and see everything that I can see in the game. And there's a lot to see. So, yeah, I've been having an awesome time with it. Have any of y'all played it?
I played it at yours, like many years ago.
I remember you started it for like a few hours. Right? I'm not sure how far you got through it.
I didn't like the start. I found the beginning a bit boring, but but I know what it turns into, and I really want to play it.
Yeah,
like, I know, because like there's the campsite, isn't there? That you're kind of at for a while. You kind of like have to keep coming back and forth.
From what I understand, the camp is like a semi-permanent fixture in the game. Yeah,
but I felt like I was very stuck there for a while. But the game becomes much larger and like.
Oh yeah, and in chapter 1, it's kind of on rails. It's like the tutorial, basically.
Yeah, so like that's the only bit I've really got to play. Whereas obviously Red Dead is a sandbox game, so I don't get to enjoy the world.
Yeah, it's definitely an open world game, but it's very and I've never played a Rockstar game before this, at least this far. Like I played Red Dead Redemption 1 for a couple hours, and then I always got lost. Like, I'm just gonna go fuck with people, you know, and then I get off the main story.
You're not playing the GTAs or anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna say you're never a GTA guy, huh?
Oh, wow.
That's crazy.
No, I didn't have a PlayStation 2 growing up, so I didn't have Vice City, San Andreas, or 3, and that was like the big boom. Yeah. And then after that, I just kind of missed the wave with it. But I watched my friends play it and stuff, but I never played it. And whenever they played, you know, online, or they were like, let's go just like kill this guy. Boom, boom, boom. We stole his car, you know, and I never really got to see like if there was a campaign
and stuff.
Yeah, I never got to see anything like that. So
do you think you'll ever circle back on it, or is it just something you're gonna kind of be?
Oh, maybe, yeah. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2 has like impressed me so much. Now I'm like, is every Rockstar game like this? And the answer seems to be no, which makes sense. You know, 2018 game versus, you know, their entire catalog. But I am interested in at least checking out like GTA 5. maybe the original Red Dead Redemption, maybe Bully, something like that.
If you play Red Dead 1, I highly recommend it just because of, is it called Undead Nightmare?
Oh yeah,
Like that DLC is, I think that DLC was so popular it got a standalone release.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, which I'm more interested in that stuff now, but it's gonna take me months probably to get through RDR2. But yeah, it's really, really good. I said this recently when I was playing through it. I was probably about 30 hours in. I was like, after I played Witcher 3, I was like, I don't see how they could make an open world game better than this. And now that I played Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm like, it's doing the job for me. It's reaching Witcher 3 heights.
I need to give it another go then.
Yeah, I think
finding
once
the time.
Gary, I will say the chapter 1, the first 3 hours that you played, when I got to the end of that, I was just like, okay, sure. And then for probably like 3 more hours, I was like, yeah, this is fine. But it took a while to get into. But once I got into it, I was like, holy shit. Because like I would say the most impressive thing about the game is how natural everything feels. Like there's random events that happen. There's like just, you'll be on horseback going between towns and just like, you'll run into random people doing things. And I have not had the same thing happen a single time.
Oh, okay.
There's been no repeats.
Yeah, because like I thought the first 3 or however many hours I put into it I was like, this is fine. I like this. It's kind of like Red Dead 1, but it's not quite grabbing me the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give it another go.
The hunting in the game is really elaborate. There's like, I don't know, 160, 170 animals in the game with like unique ways that you can hunt them. There's like a Pokedex for all the animals and stuff, basically, that give you information on them. You can just, if you want to just like chill out and play poker with random cowboys, you can just do that. I
love doing that in Red Dead 1.
Yeah. There's just so much you can do. You can play it however you want. Sorry, what?
If I lost, I'd murder people.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, there's like an honor system and stuff like that too. But
I mean, that's one thing actually. That's one thing I remember. I think it's in Red Dead 2, where there's a guy who like challenged you to shoot birds or bottles or something.
Yeah.
You shoot bottles, and I beat him. I beat the shit into him, but he grafted me because he was like, "Oh, let's shoot birds." Like, well, I destroyed you with the bottles. I'll destroy you with the birds, and he just caned me. He tricked me. He was like really good. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah. Or I was just bad. Either way, I tied him up and drowned him in the lake nearby.
Oh my god.
Oh, okay.
Wow. I mean, I just beat him, but
well then.
So that was like my favorite memory of Red Dead 2.
Yeah, I have just recently uncovered like, wow, you can be like exceedingly cruel in this game.
Yeah.
Like you can hog tie people and drag them behind your horse. You can throw people.
See, because I played Red Dead 1, I was like, you beat me? Oh, you're getting drowned.
Yeah.
I've played this before.
Yeah, there were like some guys that ambushed me while I was camping. And so then I killed them, and then I threw their bodies on my campfire, and I cackled while they burned. And I was like, now this is what I need to start doing more of. This is great. I hope all of you around me can smell it. I hope you can smell the flesh burning. This is what happens when people cross me. But yeah, it's been an amazing game so far. I've really
the next
enjoyed it.
feature they need to add, so you should be able to post body parts back to their family.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a mail center. You can send mail in the game. I think I should be able to save a finger.
I should have to wear a necklace.
What the
made of that
finger
ears.
necklace.
Is this why you like this game?
Do we need to go?
Or
Do we
I
need
send another finger.
Do we need to go and let these guys cook up these hypotheticals?
I thought it was just a fun little game about being a cowboy with some storyline. What the fuck is this?
Started. I was thinking there's horses and
A fun
cowboy
little game
hats
about being a cowboy.
Yeah. Cowboys are outlaws, Sinnoh. They weren't always nice.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys are talking about serial killer trophies at this point, man, like
I didn't realize they were fucking mental, like saw trap masters.
It's getting a little getting a little off the rails, fellers.
On that note, there's some like horror stuff in Red Dead Redemption 2 that took me by surprise.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil it.
Oh.
Yeah,
But
I
you
think
can
I
just-
remember finding something. I was like, oh, there's a story.
Yeah, there's like some stuff that I like randomly find. It's like optional. but like the atmosphere completely changed, and like there was like a horror soundtrack creeping in and stuff. And there was one moment where I like heard a voice, and I like thought it was I like kind of wrote it off, but then people in the comments were like that was like a supernatural voice you heard, and I was like,
Oh,
what?
cool.
Yeah. So there's some interesting stuff in the game for sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
damn
like
it.
open world games. I tend to kind of get a bit bored of them, but I've always thought Red Dead looks like pretty amazing. You know, like it's
Yeah.
the fantasy of being a cowboy and kind of taking that GTA style, like getting up to shenanigans thing, but putting in like a cowboy world is like
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. You know.
So no,
Being
I
a
will
silly little
say
cowboy.
a lot of your gripes that I've heard, the gripes that you have with open world games about like, there's too many markers, telling you where to go and all that stuff, not letting you explore. Like Red Dead doesn't have those that I've seen.
Okay.
There's like a little mini map and you can mark things, but there's not like a big waypoint. Be like, go here next. Oh, you need to do this quest. You need to remember your quest.
Right.
And just they kind of just let you go and to do whatever after you finish chapter 1.
That's cool. Yeah, I
so-
would totally be willing. Like, maybe a lot of kind of game design for open world games has evolved. Because I always hated, for instance, like Fallout 3. I feel like in Fallout 3, I'm looking at the little compass thing at the bottom left to see if I'm like running towards the arrow for the quest that I'm on more than I'm looking at the world.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like it kind of takes the magic out of it after a while, where it's like I'm not really exploring so much now. If I'm trying to like follow along, I'm just kind of like constantly like, is this the right way? Is this the right way? Oh, I'm walking in the wrong direction. And I did have like some fun with that game. It's not like I was completely joyless. Like I explored for a little bit, but I just feel like it would be nice to kind of follow along with the story beats in a more organic fashion, where it's like, you need to go to this town and it's like over here, but like getting towards the town doesn't feel like I have to kind of follow markers to make sure I'm on the right path.
And I can support
Yeah.
that, because like the first time I played Fallout 3, I didn't follow the markers, so I just walked in the exact opposite direction to Megaton, and then got killed by Deathclaws. And I was like, "What is this? What is this shit? Where do I go?"
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't played the Fallout games, but that sounds treacherous.
Fallout 3 is good.
I
despite
actually
that
don't like
description,
Fallout 3 very much. I think it
I
I
kinda
always hear
sucks.
New Vegas is the one to play.
Yeah,
That's the
I
one
would
that
say New
hear.
Vegas is the
That's
best
what I've
because
been
it's
told
like
as well.
Well,
It's
although
got
Fallout
more-
purists will be like two is the best one.
I think
it's
Fallout
got more
3 and New
interesting
Vegas.
like character creation. Fallout 3 is a lot of like, you got this perk that gives you +5 to big guns. And it's like, oh, fascinating. Whereas in Fallout New Vegas, it's like, you wear glasses, which means when you wear glasses, you have this benefit, but when you don't, you like lose a benefit. And it's like it's more like the classic Fallout, where it's kind of interesting to sort of balance it, as opposed to just being like +5 energy weapons.
I
Right.
mean, I think they're both good in different ways. That's how I would describe it. I kind of like the simplicity of Fallout 3. I really liked Fallout New Vegas as well, to be clear, but sometimes when you finish a quest and it tells you failed 4 other quests, it's like, okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, Fallout 3 has some really positive notes to it. Like, I think the DLCs are among some of the best you'll see in games, and Liam Neeson's in it, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Where's my dead wife?
Sono's a Liam Neeson hater, so that's not a selling point for him, Gary.
Yeah, no.
I can't.
I need to find my wife. Where's my wife? Yeah. Okay.
Well, he's not looking for his wife. He's looking for a cure.
Fascinating.
Sono saw him look for his wife one time, and he was like, "That's all he does now. He's like a Pokemon."
I'm very
Just
disappointed
constantly
in
just
you
like, my
blowing
wife,
up an
my
entire
wife,
town. Oh well,
my
let's
wife.
not talk about that anymore.
That is a particularly good moment in Fallout 3. You're like,
I got to the
Sorry.
end of Fallout 3 and I had someone who was immune to radiation with me that would have solved the final conundrum. So then I was like, okay, person that's immune to radiation, you do it. And they're like, no, this is your destiny, so you have to do it. So it's like, oh, okay. But
But
does
it's
it make
okay.
sense?
it's okay because like you sacrifice yourself, and then the DLC makes it so you didn't.
Thank you for at least acknowledging that. Thank you,
Yay!
Gary, for at least acknowledging that. Anyway,
Um,
I'll have to play it soon. I'm excited.
Should we? Okay, we've got some news to talk about.
Yeah.
Do we talk about? Should we go with funny or tragic first? What do you want?
Funny or
tragic.
tragic?
I mean, there's
Funny
a
don't
lot
say
of-
that because
funny-
then people
funny-
will think
Funny
I
or
feel-
potentially tragic?
I feel like
Gary's being slightly
Let's say-
facetious for anybody listening out there. It's not actually that tragic.
Okay, well we should do.
Just in
Maybe we
case.
should do tragic first and
yeah,
then
bad
funny.
news. Always bad news before the good news.
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Behavior, the developers of Dead by Daylight, have bought Red Hook Studios. How do we? So, and that's the developer of Darkest Dungeon 1 and 2.
Darkest
for the
Dungeon
people
1
who
and
don't know.
yeah.
Well,
How
I
do
will
we
say
feel?
this. I will say this. I've never played Darkest Dungeon. I'm not connected to it at all. So I'm thankful that I won't have anything to mourn when they inevitably ruin it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like I don't have to. It'll be destroying something that I never loved in the first place.
See, I
Former
too
Fog
have.
Whisperer, Doug Running Man, everybody.
So I haven't played Darkest Dungeon 1 or 2 either. They're very much on my list of things to do because John, I know you speak particularly highly of it. I know you really like it as well, so no. So I'm very keen to
Yes.
find
Yeah, we
time
played
eventually
through-
to play them.
We played through the first one, co-op actually.
Yeah, I remember
back
you
in the
doing
day.
videos
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, and I played 2 when it was in early access, but I didn't get super far in it. But I liked what I played. I just haven't been able to return to it yet. But
I think
they
actually-
do go a completely different direction with
No,
it.
you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I think actually waiting to come back to Darkest Dungeon 2 was a good idea because I was kind of underwhelmed by it at first, but it was because it just wasn't ready. It was like the
Yeah, it
first
was
like kind of
undercooked.
release. It didn't really have like long-term progression in it, so I kind of just like completed the one
Right.
path, and I was like, oh, okay. But now it's like a full game. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and they kind of got rid of the Darkest Dungeon 1 thing where you end up with like lots of multiples of each class, and instead it's like every journey you have like one plague doctor, and if the plague
you-
doctor dies, you replace it with a different class. So it feels a bit
Mhm.
more like you have. I think they realize that a lot of people like to name the characters after someone they know, and they like to
Yeah.
sort of keep them for long periods of time, as opposed to just being like, "Here's my 4th Hellion that I've got now." kind of
Right.
thing.
Right.
And there's like a kind of relationship system between the characters, which can be quite funny. So I like named 2 of the characters after 2 of my friends, and they just constantly bicker and fall out. And whenever like one of them uses a move, the other one gets like stressed out by it. With you guys though, I named some of the characters after you guys, and you got on swimmingly.
Just
You
like
actually
real life.
got bolstered by
Right.
each other's presence. It was very sweet.
What class did you make me?
I think I actually made you the Hellion.
Yeah, that's what
I
I
was
was
like,
hoping.
John, yeah, like big
Yeah.
lady, red hair, like
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah,
with
I'm
Gary-
Alloy.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the most complicated moveset, but my god, she can do big numbers. Just
Yeah.
put her at the front and just like let her bash things, and that's all I need. Gary, I think you ended up. I asked you, and you said you wanted to be the jester.
Yeah, I thought the jester. Like I looked for all the descriptions. Like the jester sounds the most like me.
There's a lot of like bouncing back and forth throughout the party.
Yeah.
And, you're
Jester's
good at getting
fun.
rid of people's stress, though. As
Just
well.
like real life.
Yeah.
Or-
And
or
then
causing
Doug.
it.
No, I think I made Doug like a man at arms or something, so you're like a big tanky boy.
That makes sense. That makes
Big
sense.
Thank you,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
I think
You're a big
that's
tanky boy.
Quite the compliment. Thank you, sir.
So if you were going to recommend if someone should play Darkest Dungeon or Darkest Dungeon 2, like is it worth playing Darkest Dungeon 1 before 2, or do you think you can just jump straight into 2?
You can just jump straight into
You can
two.
jump straight into 2. I mean, 1. I mean, I love 1, but it is kind of brutally difficult, even on standard difficulty. I think even on Radiant difficulty, which is like quote easy. It can. I mean, you get team wipes and you lose tons of progress, and sometimes things just are really unfair. I feel like 2 was a little bit better balanced from what I played.
Okay. So I might check out 2 then soon, because I really want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed just now I actually have Darkest Dungeon 1. I must have gotten it gifted at some point, or maybe
Oh, nice.
bought it impulsively and forgot about it. So cool. I'll install and check this out.
I will say too, Darkest
Inspired.
Dungeon 1 has like a pretty expansive mod scene, or at least it did. So
Okay.
like when we played through it, one of the issues with Darkest Dungeon 1 is that it's such a long campaign that at a certain point you're just like, you've got the same type of characters and you've got like maxed out characters of every class, and you're like, well, it'd be nice if there was more to do. So you can use mods to kind of help expand the experience a little bit and keep things moving. So I'd recommend playing it like playing it vanilla maybe at first, but then looking into mods if you start getting kind of bored with it.
That seems quite good. I think my hope is that behavior stayed kind of hands off. Just because
Yeah.
I know Darkest Dungeon has such a high reputation, like a really good reputation for like quality games.
Yeah.
Or Red Hook, I should say, but like behavior's track record is questionable.
What are you talking
You
about?
know.
Death Garden is how many concurrent players do they have?
Yeah. And
0?
What was
Oh.
it? We made what was that game called? The other one, the building game.
Meet Your Maker.
Meet Your Maker, yeah. And then what's the one that just got canceled? I forgot. It was
Oh.
something.
Was there
I
a new
can't
one?
remember. There was a
Yeah,
game,
Project something.
Project
Just
T,
got canceled like a
Project
couple
L,
days ago. Yeah, Project
Oh.
T.
Yeah, and so I think my hope is that behavior kind of slides into a more Dread XP style role where they just publish good games instead of trying to make their own.
Like siphon the Dead by Daylight like funnel of money into like
Yeah,
other companies.
exactly. And they're taking strong dev teams and pushing their games out rather than.
Yeah.
It just feels like anything they've tried to do original. Again, like what the fog kind of was like got out and was a thing.
Yeah. That's
That's it.
released?
Never even
Yeah.
heard of it.
Yeah, What the Fog was a free game that came out right around the time.
That looks
Man,
cool
it-
too.
Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. I actually just claimed my key recently, so I'll give it I'll give it a go and let you guys know what I think next week. But yeah, I don't think they've really hit on anything other than DVD, right? Like Meet Your Maker flopped, Death Garden flopped. What the Fog, you guys didn't even realize was a thing just now. Like I brought
Never
it up
heard
and
of
everybody
it.
was
Never
like,
heard of it.
Yeah.
They announced it during the anniversary live stream, but I didn't know that
Wow.
it released.
I thought Frank Stone was great. But that's super massive. They just kind of licensed their stuff to them, right? They didn't really
Yeah.
have a hand in the
Yeah, they didn't
development.
have much
Yeah.
involvement at all. They basically just gave them their IP to work with, I would assume.
Yeah.
Which fingers
Gotcha.
crossed that's kind of how they deal with stuff going forward then.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be a good step in the right
No offense,
direction.
behavior.
Are Doug and I the only ones that have played Frank Stone so far?
I refuse to buy it, so
Wow. Okay.
I'll play it soon. I just haven't got around to it, but
Yeah.
it's
It's
October is coming, so
I'll be interested to see what you think because
Same.
it is fun and cheesy, but
good.
you probably have the least amount of player input of any of their games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes. Well, I don't want to say anything.
Oh, in that case, can I just
more.
watch someone play? I'll watch a no commentary video on YouTube, and I'll get the same experience, right?
Yeah, I can stream it for you if you want, Gary. I want to play through it again anyway, so.
I will say something that they added to it that they haven't added to any of their games before is they added this thing called the cutting room floor, which is a way that you can just bounce back and forth in the
Mhm.
timeline between choices, so that you can like immediately like replay a scene
That's kinda
if like
cool.
somebody died or something like that. You don't have to
Yeah.
replay from scratch all the way through like you did
Yep.
with their previous games. So that was pretty neat. It's too bad it's on this one and not on any of the others, but maybe it'll be in Until Dawn remake
Ooh.
actually.
Well,
That might be
is
cool.
Supermassive involved with that?
I mean, I would assume.
I wasn't too sure if they were. 'Cause that's owned by Sony, right? I don't know who's doing the remaster.
Well, I would
Is it
assume
Supermassive?
that they're somehow involved, even if they're
Right.
not directly responsible for remaking.
Yeah. So just thought, just a passing thought.
Hmm.
Anyway, so that's the potentially not the end of the world news. I'm trying to positively spin it now.
They should stick to publishing and not developing games.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
TLDR. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
yeah.
Including
We do-
Dead by Daylight sometimes.
I was about to say-
honestly, honestly, sell it.
To be quite honest, really. Yeah.
Sell it.
who would
Hey.
you give DVD to?
Microsoft.
The
Hmm.
people who made Fortnite, I don't know.
Epic.
Yeah.
Fill it
Epic?
full of dances. Woo!
Could give it
Well,
to Epic.
honestly, I cannot believe that we're 8 years in and there's 2 emotes.
Yeah.
Like, how
Mobile
is
is-
it really that difficult to add
Mobile
emotes?
has just done everything they should have done. Like DVD mobile is so. I could talk for an hour about how DVD mobile is the superior way to play Dead by Daylight.
Right.
And if you could use if you were able to play ranked on DVD mobile with the desktop app, I would probably play more mobile than like PC at this point.
Yeah.
Like, there's just the rank system is better. There's more progression. There's more fun things to do. There's more. It's got more. I feel like we've talked about this a lot as a number of people have started to fall out of love with DVD. A lot of what made it so fun has kind of like is what made it so like lovable or endearing. They're taking a lot of the soul out of DVD now, and it's turning into a very homogenized video game. I think that it's kind of there's a right way to do everything. There's a step 1, step 2, step 3 in every interaction in DVD, and I think that kind of makes it feel really stale. Whereas mobile still has a little bit of like that spirit of DVD left, a little of the silliness left. It's my take.
Probably
Yeah.
have consultants balancing things.
Consultants.
God, yeah, the consultant program. Anyways,
Right.
do we want to ruin the podcast and keep talking about DVD, or do we want to talk about
No,
fun
God,
stuff?
that's what-
let's keep going.
no.
Let's keep going.
Let's go to the good news, the fun news, the
Fun
hilarious
news,
news.
the fun news. Okay, I'm ready.
Is this the "I told you so" section of the podcast?
I believe it is. So if anyone doesn't know, Power World, that game that still is out there, is well, they now have a lawsuit against them by Nintendo.
Wow.
I feel
Yeah,
like
who could have seen that coming?
I
Who could
feel
have
like
predicted this?
4 aggressively handsome gentlemen might have predicted that months ago.
Now, I do want to clarify why we're a little smug and self-satisfied right now. It's not that we're pro Nintendo necessarily, or that we're just like, yeah, Nintendo's suing. Awesome. It's more that
I love Zelda.
Yeah, we like predicted that this would happen months and months ago, and I know I have personally gotten some pretty aggressive comments being like, looks like it never happened. That's because there's nothing to sue over.
Yeah.
And we said like way back then, like 6 months ago or something, like a lawsuit's coming. They're just the
Nintendo
corporations move
crossing their-
slowly.
They're crossing their T's, they're dotting their I's, and when they go in, they're going to go in. And they're
Yeah,
gonna win.
the reality, we were talked down to a lot over our take on Pal World, and it just feels it's not that we're vindicated because we care about Nintendo. It's more vindicated.
Yeah, I don't
because-
care.
Oh, I'm,
We
Don't
were,
care about
I'm,
Nintendo.
I'm,
right.
I'm a little
We knew.
vindicated because I hate Power World. I don't like
Yeah,
AI being
yeah.
used to develop a video game. I think it's lazy. I don't think it's healthy for the industry. And I think Nintendo, throughout their, as evil of corporation as they can be, they are going to evilly maybe do something good and set a good precedence in the gaming industry to not allow people to discourage people from using AI to build their video games.
something, an enemy of an enemy is a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Yeah.
Team Gary with that. Fuck AI art.
I'll be honest.
Fuck Pal
I
World,
haven't-
and hell yeah, get them, Nintendo.
I also just want to say I haven't thought about Pal World in probably 5 months, and I think
Who has?
very few people have. So it's not like I'm sitting around rooting on their downfall. But this is just kind of like a nice, like, yeah, we figured that would happen. We said it would, and now it has.
And now we sit back and wait.
W.
Yeah.
I do wonder how many people still play it because as you say,
Let me take a look for you, Gary.
people played it for like I don't know, a couple of weeks, maybe a month tops, and then it just went deadly quiet.
So I just looked it up, and apparently there's 13,000 people playing it concurrently right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 26k peak. So actually, quite a few people
Yeah.
do still play Pal World.
Yeah, it held on, right?
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and
Texas
I think
Chainsaw
that
Massacre
I
numbers.
recall. I recall that the dev, like one of the whoever does their social media speaking, made a comment that he was like, everybody is treating Power World like a failure because it's not going to ever return back to its like launch hype form. And he said that if they had gotten half of what they're getting now projected, they would have considered that a massive success. So it was like they were far more successful than they expected to be. So they're probably satisfied.
Also, they
sitting
made
in
all
this,
their
like-
money from people buying it because everyone
Yeah.
bought the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't have to
And
spend
then-
anything on building anything because they just stole
They
it
just
with
sold
AI.
it, yeah.
So
now they'll just hopefully they save that money to give to Nintendo. 'Cause-
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then Nintendo can siphon it and putting it into the Pokemon games and makes it because that's what people I see people always going. Nintendo are just jealous that Power World is a good
Oh
Pokemon
my
game that
God.
Nintendo hasn't been able to make. Well, now they can take all of Power World's money and put it into Pokemon.
And then
And we
we
all
make
win.
the same thing once again.
Pokemon is the biggest franchise on the planet. It like makes the most money of anything as a franchise ever. Like everything that's branded with Pokemon in your life. I
Yeah.
don't think jealousy is what's inspiring Nintendo here. Like,
Why didn't
"Oh,
we
I
give
can't
Pikachu
believe
a
it."
gun?
Yeah, damn. Nobody will ever buy
What-
the next
what do you think of
Pokemon
that?
game now. Like, I don't think that is really
Hmm.
what's at stake here. I will say the only thing I don't like about the lawsuit is it has been discovered that Nintendo has like copyrighted a few gameplay mechanics. So like I can't remember, notoriously for a long time having a mini game that you play while the game is loading was actually copyrighted before by some other company.
Because people couldn't do it on loading screens.
Yes, and I think Nintendo has like a copyright over. I think it's like when you go behind an object, you can see like an outline, or it's something along those lines. I can't really remember exactly, but it's like being used inside the lawsuit is like when you go behind an object, you get like a kind of strange outline of your character that, and like if you do it in a specific way, that's technically Nintendo's patent for like.
It's weird. It's weird to me when a game mechanic is like patented, because like. It's like you can't patent an idea. You have to make something. Like
it's like imagine having a copyright over like the way you film a shot in a movie. Like Dutch angle is my copyright. You're not allowed to use Dutch angle.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. It's very strange.
There's definitely like draconian practices that Nintendo has infamously had for years and years. I mean, remember when they were like, "No, you can't let's play our games." I mean, that was relatively recent, and they've, I think Nintendo's a horrible company. Just all in all, I think they have certain products that are great. The Switch, we'll get into some of them in our console tier list. The Switch is like an all-time great console. Some of their games, I mean, are some of my favorite ever. Zelda Ocarina of Time, Super Mario Odyssey, the list goes on. But some of their business practices are atrocious. And it does kind of feel like we're, this Pokemon versus Pal World thing. It does kind of feel like we're dogging on Pal World a lot, but I want to make it known I'm not a fan of Nintendo either.
Yeah. I think Nintendo get like a free pass because people like some of their game franchises, but it's like they are an awful company. Like Ubisoft, EA, Nintendo. All a bunch of bastards.
I have been making Let's Play videos for 13 years, and I've never had a Nintendo game on my channel.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's not because I don't like the games. I just don't want to support them that way.
But have you ever had like a game on a Nintendo console? Have you ever had a game that's like on a Nintendo console?
Oh, that I've done like a Let's Play of?
Yeah. Like Maiden of Blackwasher on the Wii U or something.
Did you upload your Unite gameplay?
Oh, like Pokemon. Yeah, I did like Pokemon games.
You did have
like,
Unite.
Not like, but Pokemon's not like a first party Nintendo, right?
I know what you mean, right. Okay.
Yeah, like we streamed Pokemon Unite.
Yeah.
I did a Let's Play of like Heart Gold. I did a stream of Heart Gold and like Pokemon TCG for the Game Boy, stuff like that. But never a Mario game, Zelda game, Metroid game, what have you.
Nothing first party.
I remember with Night Blights, I put so many references in that game, but I desperately, obviously I love Bellsprout, it's my favorite Pokemon. I really wanted to put it in there, but I just couldn't risk, because that was when Nintendo were at the height of going after people for fucking anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I won't put it in there. It's not worth it.
Yeah, they're like almost Disney levels of draconian copyright enforcement.
Yeah. But yeah, that's quite a fair assessment. It's like two, I don't know, villains going at each other.
Yeah, and that maybe all the smug Power World fans will be satisfied with the dismantling of Nintendo just now. That's as long as you say they're the bad guys too.
We're reeling them back, boys. Reeling them back.
Yeah, we want them back.
So, do you guys want to talk about book club? Book club, yeah, like book club. You want to talk about Crow Country?
Crow Country. Let's talk about Crow Country.
Who wants to go first?
So I chose Crow Country because Sinnoh was teasing picking Crow Country like a month ago or something like that. And when he teased it, I looked it up and I was like, this game looks really neat. And then I kind of got obsessed with it a little bit. And then Sinnoh ended up pulling the rug and having us play Fez, which was great. But I had Crow Country kind of in the back of my head, and I was like, I really want to play it. I kept thinking about playing it, but I was like, I don't want to play it. I'm going to do it for book club. So I chose it for book club. And I finally got a chance to play through it, and I thought it was fantastic. It was exactly what I was hoping for. Really brought me back to like my original like tank control style first.
Just to clarify for anyone who doesn't know, like Crow Country is like an old school PS1 style survival horror game that came out in May of this year, I believe.
Yeah.
Sorry, Doug. I wanted to
what the game was. No, you're doing better than I am. Thank you for that. Yeah, so it's like a love letter to the original like PlayStation survival horror games, your Silent Hills and your Resident Evils, and it delivered. It was fantastic. The It felt good. It felt bad in the right ways. Like the controls were could be difficult in combat sometimes, but like that's a part of it. I think that's part of the way the game, like the way the style of game works. So it's like clunky, and it's clunky in the right way. Does that make sense? Do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Or is that...
I agree. I think because I'd say like probably the only thing I didn't like about the gameplay was I had trouble using a controller aiming the gun exactly where I wanted as quickly as I wanted when I was playing through it. But it does kind of have that retro charm to it. And I would say, despite the clunkiness of some of the combat, I think the game is actually very modern, but we can talk more about that later. I think that the clunkiness was really only found in that aspect of things.
Yeah. And again, that's I guess it's like your mileage may vary, because for me, I liked that, as if it was like, this really is kind of a callback to having to deal with these clunky, tanky controls, and I don't know. I thought and it added this to the difficulty a little bit too. Which I will say, one thing that really jumped out at me was the difficulty ramp in the game. Like, I felt like in the early to mid stages of the game, it was very easy. I was kind of cruising. Some of the puzzles were a little challenging, but the actual combat itself was easy. Resources were fine. I had plenty of heals, plenty of ammo. And then it was seemingly out of nowhere. It just was like, oh, this is like, I'm in danger now. Like, I died. I was like, oh, yeah. I died now. That's crazy. I need to actually lock in here and start paying attention a little more. So, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that it was kind of lulled me into a sense of, I'm just going to kind of sleepwalk through this and get the storyline too. Oh, I have to pay attention and actually try here, or I'm not going to be able to complete this. So.
Did y'all play? What difficulty did y'all play on?
Put on normal.
Survival, yeah.
Survival, yeah.
Oh, okay. So no,
but I will play on hardcore.
I played on normal. I'm planning to do. So I just played it like to myself on the couch, and I did like a normal playthrough. But I'm planning to like do a recorded playthrough on the hard mode afterwards, because I had such a I was thinking to myself, oh, I'll play like a few hours of this and then maybe like complete it later, and then it was just like the next 5 hours I just would not stop playing it until it was done. It was just a really good length. I really like those moments, like you said, Doug. They do a good job of signposting when things are going to get harder again by like having the time of day change or it starts to rain. So you kind of know when you step out and all of a sudden it's raining, it's like, oh, some of the areas are going to have like monsters in them again that they didn't have before, or something's going to change. And that's something that the original Resident Evil does that with the hunters, where there's like a cutscene where the hunters are unleashed, and then you know from that point onwards, if you go back into a room, it might be a hunter there rather than a zombie. But the game, there's something very satisfyingly like, everything has like a system and is very physical in that game. Your character's always like opening things and shutting them and like hitting things and kicking them, and everything just feels very deliberate and very well planned and executed as a video game. So I love Crow Country. It's so good. I really, really loved it.
Yeah, I had a great time with it too. I actually played on hard mode because I normally just play everything on normal, but for this one, for some reason, I was just like, you know what? I'm a survival horror vet. Get me in there.
Absolutely.
Hurt me plenty or whatever. Yeah. And the game definitely, I think for the first 2 hours I was kind of cruising, like you said, Doug. But then I got that mini boss that busts out of a crate in that one room in the back. And like I think he killed me like 3 times. And then that's when I was like, oh shit, like I gotta lock in and
sleeves up.
And I mean, from that point on, like I was just like, okay, let's take this super seriously. And I still died a couple times after that because there's just so many enemies, and on hard difficulty, like they hit like a truck and you can't run when you're injured. So like after you get injured, like you slow down and you move like really slowly. But I had a great time with it. I found all the secrets. I did everything that I think you could do in the game. So I 100%ed it. Although I didn't get all the unlockables.
What's interesting is I believe hard mode was added later, because when I played it when it first came out back in May, and it didn't have hard mode.
Yeah.
It didn't have those blue crows hidden around. Those were a new addition, which I didn't know were going to be in there.
Blue crows.
You know, the ones you could shoot, the little glass ones?
Mm-hmm.
The glass ones.
Do you not bump into any of those? There's like little glass crows hidden around.
It only said that I could collect them after I completed my first playthrough.
Oh, I see. Because I've completed it. I could see
they get unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Okay, I was just like, I I feel like I would have seen that. How is that possible? Okay.
Yeah. There's like 42 around the map that you have to find, which is
Oh yeah,
really
okay.
fun.
It told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun finding them. Because like you guys have basically said what my opinions of it is. I think the game's fantastic. I think it's got some of the best UX you could. I mean, I just played. Is it Hollow Body? Like very briefly, and it was interesting to me to revisit to play that for a bit, and that's not my kind of thick game. Like that's not my kind of survival horror game. Whereas Crow Country just ticks all my boxes. Like it's not too difficult, but it's not, and the puzzles aren't too confusing. It's not too convoluted, but it's like the pace stays good. And Sino pointed out like every time you go into when you find a new item, one of the new key items, and you walk outside and the weather changes, it's a good progress guide. And generally like the game's great, and it's frustrating in almost the perfect way possible. Because every time you get hit by one of those chandeliers or you walk into one of those poison mines, it's like you can't help but be frustrated at yourself. Like because even though the game's put something there that's designed to kind of annoy you, you walked into it. And I particularly liked when you complete the game, you get unlocked special abilities. And I got
the crowbar
on my second playthrough, because my first playthrough I got like an A plus or whatever. So my second playthrough I had the crowbar and the crow launcher.
The crow spo. Oh no, okay, the crow launcher. Okay.
Yeah, and the crow launcher is crazy. Like it's like an infinite grenade launcher. It's absolutely crazy. And then I got an S so I could unlock the final thing, see what that did. I won't spoil it, but the crow launcher is kind of the best thing. But I thought the game was great. The environment's just fantastic. I liked all the puzzles. There was a couple that on second playthrough I couldn't remember how to solve them. I was like,
I would say like 99% of the puzzles I thought were really good. The Mushroom King room I thought was a little weird.
Probably the worst one.
Yeah,
I didn't because I died once, I think, and I was like, okay, I'm good.
Because like there's 6 mushrooms in that room. 3 of them are poisonous and 3 of them are not. And so I thought you had to eat the 3 that were not poisonous.
Yeah.
And so I sussed out which ones were not poisonous, and I ate them, and then I was like, okay, is something supposed to happen? And then apparently what you're supposed to do, and I did this later, was you're supposed to just eat all the mushrooms, including the poisonous ones, which hurt you. And you have to have heals ready for. And then you get like a secret at the end of it. But I thought that was a little strange.
There's no puzzle to it. It annoyed me because I thought the first time I just did the same thing where I was like eating the ones that don't hurt you, and then I was like, okay, do I eat the bad one and then a good one to balance it out? But you just eat them all. And you just
so they don't heal you? The normal ones? Oh.
Yeah, because I thought it was supposed to be like if you get poisoned by one, then you eat a good one to counteract it. It doesn't make a lot of sense because it feels like a puzzle that's supposed to be like, can you work out the scientific name of the mushrooms and only eat the good ones? But instead it's just like, can you eat them all and have enough healing items?
And what's frustrating about that is your rank is partially tied to how many healing items you use.
Yes. Yeah,
so
and
it's like that,
and how many secrets you get, right?
Yeah. So that secret's like locked off to you, kind of, if you want to get like a good score. Not necessarily like there's you can do it, but it's like I don't know.
I would say that puzzle, and then the octopus scale one I thought was kind of like I had to look that one up. I think that's the only puzzle I had to look up, I want to say.
I couldn't remember how to do the train one. The train one, I was like, I don't remember what this wants me to do. I was like, I figured it out the first time I played it.
Oh yeah, I got that one on accident. Like I was just messing around with it and I got it, so I got lucky. But I didn't understand that one either.
Yeah,
actually.
I couldn't remember. Like I was like, I figured this out like some 5 months ago. I have no idea what I'm doing this time. Though, so I couldn't bother.
The octopus scale one, though, like you have to put in a 4-digit number, and it's a 4-digit number based on shooting the octopus model in the submarine and then going to check the monitor. Yeah, it's the fact. Yeah. Which I went down to the submarine, and I shot like shark, whatever, to get 21 and got the shotgun, and I got out of there. I didn't look at the monitor on the side, so I kept going back to that octopus scale, like, what does it want me to do? 8, 8, 8, 8? It's just I didn't understand it. So I think those were the only 2 or 3 puzzles, including the train, that I thought were kind of meh. But all the rest of them were great.
I think I remember in my first playthrough getting stuck on the fire door, the one where you have to burn it. It just didn't click to me for the longest time. So there's a note that indicates that you've got to do that.
Yeah,
but
the wood's weak.
But I just forgot it by the time I'd got to the door. I was like, how do I open this? Where's the key?
Right.
Where's the handle?
Yeah.
How do I do it? And I just felt silly. The first playthrough, I was like, that was one of the few bits I actually got stuck on my first playthrough.
Yeah.
So
I think overall though the puzzles were really good.
it's hard. Gary, have you actually played through the classic Silent Hill games?
No.
Because you haven't played Resident Evil 1 and you haven't played through the classic Silent Hill games.
No.
But from what you've said, it kind of sounds like you would like Resident Evil style gameplay, which is what Crow Country has a bit more of, than Silent Hill, which is what I think Hollow Body was trying to be more.
People in chat said you won't like Silent Hill. When I was playing Hollow Body, they're like, you won't like Silent Hill.
Yeah, if you don't like Hollow Body,
well,
you might.
Because to
I
me,
think Silent Hill is a lot
Body,
better than Hollow Body, but
because the bit that annoyed me with Hollow Body when it's like I didn't click that the battery meant acid. So like you have to open that door.
Yeah. If you inspect it, it says it's leaking acid. But yeah, I got stuck on that too.
Yeah, so like I was walking around for ages, just running around. I was like, what do I do? And someone's like, that battery.
I don't even think battery acid works like that anyway. But
yeah,
that was
like
a bit of a weird puzzle.
That was a weird puzzle.
Yeah. So like, and then I was enjoying most of it, and then like that was like, oh no, it's gonna do this dumb shit where I have no idea what I'm doing, and it's gonna be some weird. Add these two weird random things together, and I was just
That's the only part of that game that I can remember being like that. To be honest.
Okay. So it's such a shame when something like that happens early on. I go, oh, I just.
Did you just stop playing at that point?
I think I played for a little longer, but at that point I was kind of like, I'd run around in that apartment building for about half an hour, if not longer, trying to figure out what I was doing. And I was like a little bit tired at that point of the game. Maybe I'll give it another go because like.
Yeah, I will say because I finished Hollow Body and I enjoyed it for what it was, but I can't say it's like a great game. And I actually want to kind of compare it a little bit to Crow Country because I think while they're kind of similar and in that Hollow Body is very much inspired by PS2 Silent Hill and Crow Country is very much inspired by PS1 Resident Evil, I think that they had a different approach, and I like Crow Country's approach more because I feel like Hollow Body tried so hard to like emulate the PS2 Silent Hill style that it kind of didn't differentiate itself enough from Silent Hill. It kind of just like it has similar sound effects. It has, you know, kind of a lot of the same, as a similar menu style and all that, the atmosphere, soundtrack. But then Crow Country, I noticed it's like it's very similar on the surface to Resident Evil, but I think they did a great job to differentiate themselves. Like there's humor in the game. There's like it's more fun. The atmosphere is more fun. Like it has a broader spectrum of emotions. I think they modernized the gameplay a lot. There's no limited inventory. You can just carry every item up to capacity, which I really appreciated.
That was the bit I was gonna kind of add to is like I would say that my experience of Hollow Body was it hadn't really taken the lessons learned throughout time to improve the UX, whereas Crow Country felt like Resident Evil. I haven't played it, but like it just felt like it had a lot of modern improvement.
Yes. And I will say that I've played a lot of these games that are like, we're like Resident Evil at home. Yeah. Like Tormented Souls and stuff. And they've all, for some reason, even the beloved ones like Signalis, they all are like, you have limited inventory. And I'm like, no, why are we doing this? We don't need this anymore. We can just not have it. It won't affect anything. But for some reason, they all insist on having it. And Crow Country didn't have it, which I was so thankful for. Because if I had to spend imagine playing Crow Country and having like picking up like the I don't know, like trying to pick up like the golden key or something, and it's like you don't have enough inventory slots, and you're like, okay, I gotta go put the acid bottle away, and then you put the acid bottle away, and then you're just like, oh wait, I can use the acid bottle on the bones in the toilet. And you're over there and you're like, oh, I gotta go back to the storage container to get the acid bottle. You're like running all over the place, you know, sifting through all these items. That would have ruined it for me.
My theory would be that the devs don't necessarily sit down sometimes and go, right, why do we love this game? What's the most fun bits in it? And I feel like the Crow Country devs would be, my guess would be they worked out where the fun was. Because I basically had non-stop fun during Crow Country. I 100%ed it. I loved the game. I particularly, as a particular thing that I really liked was at the end where you put out your 10 items.
Yeah, dude, I love that.
It goes through the journey again.
I love that. Yeah,
that was awesome. That was like a small moment, but that's like what I was saying is like they made the atmosphere like fun.
Yeah,
you know, there's humor. There was
it was a good
lightheartedness.
it's like a theme park, so it can have those weird little lighthearted moments, but it also is quite creepy.
Yeah.
So it's a clever setting.
Mm.
Which for a theme park, there's surprisingly few rides.
Yeah.
Not
shit,
really sure what the theme
There's a
park is.
maze. There's a haunted house. There's the boat ride. There's loads of stuff.
The boat ride.
I mean, it's
Well,
mostly a cover
the-
for a gold mining operation.
Yeah,
so
yeah, like,
Right.
yeah.
it's a little bare bones. They didn't get around to making the Cosmoland space thing.
Where's the
either.
roller coasters? That's what
Where
I'm
is the
saying.
roller coaster? Yeah, John says shit
Those-
theme park.
Roller coasters
theme
will be in
park.
Crow Country too.
Awesome.
I hope they make a second. That'd be
I
so
thought-
good.
I thought there was going to be like a DLC or like a way to play as a different character that would use the cigarette vending machines. I was like, oh, this must be a mechanic for a different character. But apparently it's
Yeah.
supposed to just be like, A, it's supposed to make it feel like it's the 90s, and B, it's supposed to be like a clue as to... I'm not going to say any more than that, but it's like, it has some plotline relevance.
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. Yeah, because there's some twists and turns that the story takes.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
such a great little story, actually, as well. It's not too complex.
It was, yeah.
The thing that I didn't like about Hollow Body's telling of its story is that a lot of the time I'm reading notes that are actually just like bureaucratic red tape. And I'm like,
I hated those notes, to know. I'm with you
this
on
is
that.
not fun to read. Like, I want creepy notes. I want stuff that's
Yes.
just like, there was a man here, he's gone now. But
There were a
instead
lot
it's
of-
just
yeah.
like, dear
Is it-
residents of blah, blah, blah.
Is it Itchy
Yeah.
Tasty? The infamous Resident Evil? Is
Yeah,
that what
I
it's...
want that type of shit. Like,
Yeah, I
creepy
want
little
Itchy
things,
Tasty.
But it's just, like, it's a little bit too po-faced in
Yeah.
Hollow Body. So it's like, you're just reading a lot of, like, dear residents, we're making some changes to the apartment complex. And I'm like, this is actually
Right.
not fun to read. It's not setting the
Well,
tone
and they-
very well.
And those notes would go on, and they would just kind of repeat themselves. And it's like, we appreciate your cooperation. If you refuse to cooperate, there will be consequences.
Right.
But it would just go on and on. It's like, this could have been one paragraph.
Yeah, we get it. Like, another
Yeah.
company took over and they didn't treat them very well. But it's like, we
Mm.
got it after
Yeah.
like the first or second note. But there's like 5 or 6 notes that are about like, dear
Yeah.
residents of blah blah blah, we are going to make some changes. It's like, I want creepy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and they... Did you get all the static signals in Hollow Body?
I missed
There's,
one,
like, 8
which
of
I
them.
think might
Yeah.
be because I didn't go back into the apartment complex early enough. Because when I made the super key, I kind of just walked out.
Oh, okay.
And I forgot to
Huh.
go back into the apartment complex to make like the master key or whatever.
Well, it's not like you missed a whole lot, frankly, because like the signals, after a while too, you're just like, okay, I get it. The people didn't want to cooperate, and they're like telling the officers or whatever, like, you're shite.
Uh,
I hate
What
you.
do you mean I can't leave?
What do you
Who
mean?
do you think you are? It's like, we
Yeah.
get it. It's like they're being contained
Yeah,
and it's supposed to be like a
every-
kind of police state thing. But again, it kind of hammers the same point home a little too many times.
Yeah. I don't want to bash Hollow Body too much because I think it's really cool, you know, that like a single person made all that.
Oh, is
and
it
I
a single
enjoyed the
developer?
experience, but yeah.
Oh, that's impressive. I don't know
Yeah,
if it's a single
Headwear Games.
developer.
I love the
Yeah.
music in it. It's very
yeah,
creepy.
it's very low key. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
Very-
notice it most of the time, so it was pretty good.
Like sometimes it's very like cool and calming, and then sometimes you're like, oh, something doesn't feel right, which is very evocative, clever use of music.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere was really cool a lot of the time. So it definitely has some really cool points. Hollow
Yeah.
Body. It just, I think it kind of overdoes it a little at times. And I kind of find myself wanting there to be 1 or 2 more puzzles and 1 or 2 more boss fights.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. The
Just a little
fact
bit.
that, because, you know, spoilers, the game kind of ends without a boss fight, frankly.
Mhm.
Like without a real boss fight. And so I was saving tons of ammo for a fight that never came. Whereas in Crow Country, I saved all my Magnum ammo and then I just unloaded at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As soon as you walk into that final room, you're like,
Yeah.
you know, this is going to be a boss fight. It's like the
Yeah.
game's basically just like, now, if something were to happen, be
Yeah.
prepared to fight. And you're like,
I-
it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a
Yeah,
fight.
and then you see all those like bear traps around, and I was just like, hang on a second, let me just take care of these.
It even lets
I know
you.
what's gonna
It
happen.
even lets you. It interrupts his
Yeah.
conversation to let you deal with that stuff, which I thought was a really nice
Yeah.
touch.
Yes.
Because every
Yeah,
gives you
'cause-
like, deal with this. Deal with that first. Talk to him in a second. It lets you do it. I was like,
Yeah.
plus point.
Like at the end of Silent Hill 3, when you jump down the hole and like fight God, you're like, this is very
Mhm.
claustrophobic and weird, and it makes me uncomfortable, but it feels like a real epic moment of like, I'm going to end this. I'm going to end
Yeah.
all this bullshit for real. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I always think of an epic boss fight, I always think of Doom 3. As many flaws as Doom 3 had, At the end, you like
Oh,
walk down into the
yes.
depths of hell and you fight this giant. I believe he's got
Yep.
like a rocket arm, like bazooka demon boss, and it's just insane. It's just like that's what I want.
Doom 3, I'm gonna have to replay that game at some point, like soon, because I think last time I played it was about 10 years ago, which at that point, a lot had changed since it released in like 2005, 2004, whatever it was. But I remember that was quite the controversial game. Doom
Yeah, people
3.
shit all over it, and I love Doom 3. I think Doom 3 is great.
I remember playing it like terrified as a like teenager.
Yeah,
Like,
me
"This
too.
is
Me too.
the scariest game ever made."
I remember
At
being
that
like,
point.
but I can't hold my shotgun and my flashlight.
Yes, yeah. Which
There's
now
something in the room with me.
now I'd be annoyed with that, but back then I was like, this makes it so scary. But yeah, Crow Country, is it? I gotta ask this: is it horror game of the year? Because there's a lot of buzz about that with Crow Country.
Well, Silent Hill 2 remake is yet to come out.
True.
So it'll be easier
mean-
to say. I mean, so far for me, I would gladly say
Yeah,
one of my games of the year, absolutely, because it's
I
just
would be happy.
it's like any survival horror fan, you owe it to yourself to play Crow Country. It's
Yeah.
just done right, 100% done
Agreed.
right. So yeah,
And I would say just anyone like I think it's just a solid game outside of just being up into horror genre. I think it's just a solid game, like all round. I think anyone could enjoy that game.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, honestly, the horror elements, it's basically just like
it's not
monsters.
scary. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say scary. I got some jump.
tons
The
of-
wall, those wall dudes gave me some
Oh,
jump
yeah,
scares.
Yeah, the wall
a couple
guys.
times.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah,
So-
I mean, there's some jump scares and stuff, but other than that, I mean, action games have monsters that are like "Rah!" too, and that's basically what this had. So
Yeah.
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 I think it's my game of the year so far.
great pick,
I'd agree with
great
that.
pick, Doug.
yay.
Yeah, and again, it's inspired by Sinnoh. I appreciate you putting. I didn't even really know anything about it before you mentioned it, and then like once I started reading about it, I was like, okay, I need to play this. So, hat tip to Sinnoh Beats.
But of course,
on the
like a cat,
recommendation.
I was like, I'm gonna say Crow Country, and then no, kept you guessing by saying some
Yeah.
random other bullshit. But yeah,
It all worked
Fez.
out in the end.
I can't think of two more polar opposite games actually.
yeah.
True.
Fez and Crow Country.
True.
Whose turn is it?
It is
Oh, yeah.
John's.
Oh, okay. All right, so now it is time for me to unveil my pick for book club, and I'm very excited to unveil the game pick for you guys that I just made just now on a whim. It's a game called Mirror Layers. Have you ever heard of Mirror Layers? Any of you?
Never in my life.
Never heard of it.
You know what I like about you,
Okay.
John?
Hmm.
You don't bullshit. You're just like, yeah, I just picked it.
Just
You're
picked
not
it.
pretending that like, oh, Mirror Layers, I've been thinking about this one for weeks. You're just like, so I just
I'm
picked this, but here you go.
I've been playing this for months.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, this looks
it's
interesting.
So this is a game. It's $10 on Steam. It's got a couple of collaborators that worked on it, including Ivan Zanotti, who is the developer of I'm Scared: A Pixelated Nightmare. If any of you have
I
played.
still need to play that as well. That's on my list. Maybe I'll play that first and then play this.
Oh, I'm Scared 2016 is the best version of that game.
That's
If you
one
play
I've
it,
got.
it's 8 years old at this point, but it's very interesting.
Hmm.
I'll be interested to see how you enjoy it. But yeah, Mirror Layers actually. The free version came out on Game Jolt years ago, but it got a full Steam release that has updates and stuff, and I haven't checked it out yet. I believe it released in October 2021, so it's been a minute, but it's a social horror game. So it's a horror game that I believe you cannot solve by yourself, is all I'll say about it. And I'll be interested to see what you guys think when we play through it.
Is it? Yeah, I'm like reading about it here. Cooperate with other players to solve challenging puzzles, but it's not like a multiplayer, as in like you're supposed to
No.
play it
No,
like
you-
as a
you play it-
four-man.
You play it solo, but you will have to work together with other players. And I checked. This was a concern of mine. I was like, "Is it still possible to?" Because it's been like,
A couple of years.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
But it apparently it's still completable. It's still running. So
Cool.
hopefully that's true.
Is it like an online game?
It's hard to describe. If it's anything like the Game Jolt version that I played, it's
The two ways I can see it being is it's either directly online or it like collects
It's
data
like a
from
message
online,
board, or
like
yeah.
Dark Souls where you
There's-
leave.
yeah. There is a online component to it.
Okay, so it's not like
Yeah.
you have to be playing it at the same time as someone else who's playing it. Like
No.
Journey style, where there's someone who joins your game. It's like
Yeah.
This is really
Okay.
interesting. Okay. I'm
yeah,
down for
color me
this.
intrigued. Yeah, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm looking
like I
forward
said,
to
I played the free version years ago, but there's been a Steam release since then where they've done updates, and now it's available for $10. So I'm eager to see how it's changed and what it's turned into, because I always thought it was an interesting idea when I played it the first time.
I like this. Yeah, I'm in. And it'll
All
give me an
right.
excuse to play I'm Scared, because I've been meaning to play that anyway.
Yeah, that's an interesting game too, definitely. I will say with I'm Scared, you're gonna have to look some things up, I think.
So I'll have chat there with me. I'll just be like, chat, tell me what the answer is. I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they've all watched you play it, so they'll know already.
Oh, maybe. I mean, it has been like a while though. But yeah, Mirror Layers. Cool.
Cool. I'm
So
excited.
we'll talk about that in episode
forward to it.
55.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I might
we-
try and record my playthrough of this as well and have it.
Oh yes.
Yeah, this is really fun. This is I love people trying to do slightly different takes on horror as well. I'm actually quite pro about like multiplayer horror and like that kind of stuff, because I know a lot we've talked before about how like sometimes people get very like horror has to be this one thing.
Yeah.
It has to scare me. It has to be single player. It has to be Resident Evil ad infinitum until I die. It has to be Silent Hill until I die. And I love those
Mhm.
games, but I actually think that the genre also has been improved by people doing some cool new things with it too.
Yeah.
And that is the purpose of indie horror, is to try different things.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of indie games, is to do something that the big publishers won't do, because
No one
Actually,
should
like,
gamble on, yeah.
Push the medium forward.
Yeah.
As
Or
an art
the
form,
idea
yeah.
of like The Quarry, like the idea of it being like a multiplayer horror movie that you all can play a different character in for fun. I'm like, what
Yeah.
a fun idea, just to like take a twist on like, getting together with your pals and watching B movie horror and making it so that you can all participate in it. I like this.
So no,
I'm
you
in for it.
remember you remember when we played Hidden Agenda?
Oh my god, yes.
Supermassive's weirdest game, where it was like
Is that the mobile
half
one?
social deception game. Well, you had there was a mobile component. You had to
On the-
download
yeah.
an app on your
Yeah,
on
because
your
I
phone.
think I played it with you.
That's right. Yeah, we
Yeah,
played
I
it
know
multiple
that, yeah.
times.
I actually love that
Yeah.
game, even though it's not like it's a little janky in places. I played it with some other friends who don't usually do a lot of horror stuff, and one of the people in the room, his hidden agenda was to make it so that the two girls don't get together, because you know how suddenly the detective
Yeah.
and that one lady, you can like hit on her, and his agenda was to like make sure that doesn't happen. We were like, why do you hate lesbians? Why are you preventing these women from finding true happiness? But it was a very funny moment as a party thing.
Crazy thing about Hidden Agenda, I think I've played it like 3 times, once on camera and twice not. And I don't think we've ever gotten like the good ending to that game.
No.
Yeah, it's hard from what I remember.
A lot of there's like a lot of things that have to go right so that you don't end up getting like blown up or something at the end.
Yeah.
and she
'Cause
discovers
there's, like-
the right clues, I guess.
There's like a killer or something. There's like a serial killer that you have to catch, and I don't think I've ever caught him.
Can you play that online?
I think so. Yeah.
Is it like Jackbox kind of thing where people can just like go
Um,
to like a browser or something along, or everybody can have the app and they get like a code?
I don't know, honestly.
Because maybe I wouldn't mind one day in the future the 4 of us recording a playthrough of it together.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be in.
that could be
That would be
fun
pretty funny.
if we could figure out a way to do it. Yeah.
I'll need to look that up, but I'm kind of chomping at the bit now that you've said it again. I'm like, I want to play that again.
I feel like
I
that's,
can barely remember it, so I'd be well into seeing it again.
that's like Supermassive's game that like nobody talks about, along
Yeah.
with like the VR prequel to Until Dawn that nobody played except me apparently.
Ugh.
The Impatient.
Oh god. Oh yeah. Yeah, I did play that.
There was, I will say, stay away
Oh,
from
no.
that. Yeah, it
Wow,
was not good. Not good.
Anyway, sorry, a bit of a sidebar there. But yes,
it's all
what was
good.
the other one called? The first one we talked about? Mirror Layers.
Mirror Layers, yes. Yeah, that'll be the one that
I'm
we
excited.
talk about next time.
Can't
Yeah.
wait.
But we do have one other significant matter of business to attend to.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah. Part 3 of our console tier list.
Part of my brain was like, what if this is like an intervention moment where you three just turn to me and go, Gary.
Gary.
Gary, you're getting too jacked. You need to eat more chocolate.
I've actually gone back
John-
onto health mode now.
Could you send us like a screenshot of the tier list as it stands, just so I can remember what we did?
Sure. Hang on. I'm gonna have to do it on my phone like a boomer. Because of how I've got things set up for recording, but
The wonders of modern technology.
yeah, because I can't move the screen on my computer
Thanks, Twitch.
without messing things up. Yeah, thanks a lot, Twitch, you idiots.
Imbeciles.
Fuck you, Twitch. Okay. Let me see. Here
Did
you
Twitch
go.
even announce anything at this TwitchCon?
Yeah.
They usually have like an announcement
did
or
they?
two, right?
They announced shared chat for Stream Together was one thing they
Oh,
announced. They announced 4K. Yeah, they streamed like,
4K? 4K streaming?
Yeah, something like YouTube's had for like a long time, right?
Yeah. You. I didn't know that they didn't have it.
Yeah, Twitch doesn't have it yet. They streamed the opening ceremonies in 4K. They were like, "Whoa, guys!" What else? Trying to think. I went to all the Dan Clancy stuff. There was one interesting exchange where he talked about how somebody had asked if there was like any plans to add something between affiliate and partner, and he was like, "Quite the opposite. We're looking to make the difference between affiliate and partner like even less obvious. Like they want to like there's kind of basically they're if there's anybody that has hopes out there that they're going to be doing more with the partner program, I would not hold your breath because it sounds like they just want to make everybody the same."
Yeah. Looking to devalue the partner experience, actually.
Base.
But how will I skip the lines at the Twitch partner parties?
Uh,
Oh
What
no.
about my partner party where I get free alcohol? Is that going to go away?
well, it's already basically gone away. Remember?
I enjoy it. I enjoy the party still.
Oh, I mean, they used to be so much better, though. It used to be much better than, like, you can have a light beer or a red wine. It used to be like, you can have any mixed drink you want. Anything. You can have a White Russian. You can have a Jack and Coke. You can have a screwdriver. You can have a Moscow Mule. Then they stopped doing that recently because they were like,
Well,
that's
Rotterdam-
kind of expensive.
At Rotterdam, like they had like beer and whatnot, but then they had like loads of food options, so I was happy.
Yeah.
I'll take the food options.
Yeah. It's just kind of,
Anyway.
they kind of cheaped out, though. Fuck you,
Yeah.
Twitch.
Tier
Anyway.
list. Tier list.
Hashtag bleed purple.
Yeah. You know, I wouldn't be like
Hashtag
this if they
fuck.
kept their features intact that I was using, streamed together.
Nobody likes something getting worse.
Exactly.
Nobody
It's
likes that.
lazy.
It's a bit
It's
of a shame.
lazy as shit. It's like they didn't even think about it. It's like it was an afterthought. One of
didn't
their
even think
primary
about
features
us.
they introduced like last year. It's not like it's an old feature.
No.
Not like it's a legacy feature. It's new.
Feature. It's a feature in progress for Pete's sake.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways,
And
console
bring me
tier
back
list, huh?
chance. I never got to use them, you bastards.
Console
Chance,
tier
chance,
list.
chance. Luke
Console.
Cave. Luke Cave.
Okay.
Okay.
Console tier list.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the PlayStation 3,
Yeah.
you guys.
Heck yeah.
Because we got a lot of PlayStation to get through in this video. The PS3.
All right.
I can. Like, I'm a bit. I might be the biggest PlayStation fanboy here, as the PS2 is my favorite, and probably my second favorite console is the PS1. So I don't like. I love the PS3 as well, unsurprisingly. I just think it's one thing I've always found interesting about the PS3 is it always makes me think of Spider-Man, because the logo,
Spider-Man.
the logo is
The logo.
so Spider-Man.
It does look like Spider-Man, yeah.
So I still got my PS3, and it's like it's so shiny, and it's just got that Spider-Man 3 like
Yeah,
text
I've got
on
my
it.
PS3 too.
Is this the first one where they brought out the PS? There was like a slim version of the PS3, wasn't there? There was like
Yeah.
it was a lot uglier.
So there's two versions of the PS3, two main versions. There's the backwards compatible one that basically had a PS2 inside it that you could play PlayStation 2 games, you could play PlayStation 1 games, they all worked. And I've got one of those and it's great.
I think I've got
you can
one
play
too. Yeah.
You can play PS1, 2, and 3 games in it. However, it sounds like a jet engine taking off when you turn it on. I have had one that just bricked itself randomly after I
really?
finished playing a game. Yeah. So this is my second one that I've had. And then they have the slim version, which can, as far as I know, only play PS3 games.
I think that's the case, yeah.
But it's much smaller and it runs much better. So I think that's worth noting, though, and honestly, in this era where backwards compatibility has been kind of up and down with these consoles, and they're mainly going digital with it now and trying to even eliminate the disc drive altogether. The original PS3 is actually pretty cool that it can play anything from the back catalog, most anything anyway.
And it had a great selection of games as well. There's basically we haven't talked about the Xbox 360 yet. There's a game on that I really want to focus on in like a weird way. There's two games that really impacted me deciding to start learning how to make video games, and one of them's on the PS3, and it's a game called Little Big Planet, which I thought was a phenomenal game. It was so adorable. Yeah, absolutely great game. And then you just have to look at we were talking about Red Dead Redemption earlier. Like that was a great game on the PlayStation. Was it on the Xbox as well? I assume it was.
It was on the 360 as well, because that's where I played it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's The Last of Us, the Uncharted series, which are absolutely fantastic.
Right. It's Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 are all on the PS3,
I believe
right?
So, yeah. Armored Core 4, which is one of my favorite games of all time. I really like Armored Core 4. Then you've got all the classics, all the Assassin's Creed and all that sort of stuff that's on everything. But
that kind of era.
Just some really class games on it. It was a good generation of games generally across the Xbox 360 and the PS3. It was like a good era. High quality.
I actually didn't like the PS3 very much.
That's crazy.
I think it was. What do you mean that's crazy?
Because it's amazing. It's an amazing console. So tell me why you didn't like the PS3.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying I'm always a hater, and I was like, I think.
No. That was there was no sarcasm. There was no sarcasm.
I've been quite pro a lot of the Sony output so far. Actually,
we got two.
It was so expensive. The PS3. It was so expensive, probably because it had the Blu-ray player in it. Which subjectively, my opinion, I wasn't really that interested in having a Blu-ray player. So I didn't really want to pay $600 plus for this console when it first came, really expensive when it first came out. Right. PlayStation 3. And I also didn't like the fact that it was called cell architecture for the CPU, which made it kind of hard for game companies to port to the PS3 very easily, and some games ran worse as a result. Speaking of Fallout 3 was one of them, where it had bad pop-in issues, and it just didn't run as well as it did on the Xbox 360, and it's because it was just hard to program games for the PlayStation 3. They had to get rid of quite a lot of features to make the price go down in the future, and I think
that's what the Slim was, right?
It was frustrating for me because I was like, oh, finally a price point that I can maybe buy a PS3 at with the Slim and stuff, and that was when they were like, oh, we got rid of the backwards compatibility, and I was like, oh, it's the one thing I really want still,
right,
is the backwards compatibility. So I kind of just didn't really see a way for me to buy this easily. I couldn't really afford it, and when it finally became available, it got rid of one of the things I wanted most out of it. I had my friend's one had a lot of problems with Wi-Fi, but it might have just been my friend, I don't know. But I mean, the Xbox 360 used to have to buy a separate dongle for it to have Wi-Fi, which is kind of laughable now, I guess.
I still have mine around here somewhere. I saw it when I was moving. I saved it as throwbacks.
I mean, there were some. I wouldn't say it was terrible. The PS3. There's definitely a lot of pros to it. You didn't have to pay to play games online with it, if I recall.
No, it was
which
free.
is pretty sweet.
It was the PS4 where they started to charge, wasn't it? And that was when. Was it the PS4 that happened?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I think
the PS3 was free, and then the PS4, I think, was when they started
eventually
charging.
changed.
I do remember in this era it was free. Yeah,
because Xbox charged, but Sony didn't. That was one of
Xbox
their
Live,
points. Yeah.
They finally gave in and started charging for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it really low, but I would say yes.
I would have put it S personally, but just by virtue of The Last of Us, Little Big Planet, the originals, the exclusives that came out for it were just fantastic. See, the thing is, it's crazy because I would have marked the Blu-ray player as a plus because it was again, when I bought it, I had been in the military for a year. I had a kid on the way. Yeah. I was a fully grown adult doing adult things home and kid and wife, and I was like, oh, this will be a great centerpiece for my entertainment center. That's the kind of mindset I had for it. So for me, it was an easy investment, and I could see that being different if you were, in more of If you didn't really need that centerpiece of your entertainment center, right? You just were looking for a gaming console.
I'll
Yeah,
say,
I guess so.
from the Blu-ray perspective, I mean, I bought some Blu-rays for it, and I remember this was like, and I'm kind of the same still. I don't really see what the difference was, except I was spending more on the DVDs that I could have got instead. Like, I remember being like not that blown away by the difference, but then again, it could have been the movies I was buying, but
Yeah,
or
maybe.
just the televisions as
Yeah,
well.
what
it could have
television
been
were you
my TV as
watching
well,
on?
true.
Because yeah,
I don't know, like probably some crappy old TV. But yeah, the Blu-ray player wasn't like a selling point to me. Like for me, I think S is probably a little bit too high for it. And I
wouldn't put it at S personally.
You would put it as S as well, would you, John?
No, I
sorry.
wouldn't.
I was
wouldn't,
gonna say
yeah.
okay.
But we're thinking.
I think
it's
Jenny makes a very
A
good
tier.
point. It was expensive.
Mhm.
It was a
Really
really cool
expensive.
console, but
Like
was
$600
loud.
plus.
there's only one
Mhm.
console that was louder than it, and that was my Xbox 360 for some fucking reason.
It also had that kind of very big, bulky, rounded design, which
which was very pretty, but made it very difficult to put somewhere.
It is probably the heavy. I have like a lot of these consoles, like just out there, and I've been moving them around recently because I've been rearranging. And the PS3, the backwards compatible PS3, is the heaviest one, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the heaviest console I have.
Gigantic.
Yeah,
It's a huge thing.
like I said, they basically put a PS2 inside it, so it can have
Yeah.
backwards compatibility. It's crazy.
A lot of the
Um,
price is probably because that was the era that Sony was fighting to have Blu-ray become the new standard, like DVD was against, wasn't it like HD DVD or something it was called?
Oh,
Yes,
HD
do you
remember
DVD,
that?
which lost gloriously. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably why they took the gamble of making the PS3 really expensive, but having the Blu-ray player, because they wanted everyone to be like, well, I wanted the game console and I already have a Blu-ray player, so I guess I'll just
right.
buy Blu-rays, you know? But for somebody who kind of wanted a games console for games, it was a bit frustrating to be like, I'm paying so much money potentially for something that I won't use.
I know where I would put it.
Where would you put it?
I think I'd put it. I think it's there's such good games that Last of Us like brings it up quite a bit for me, and Little Big Planet and Uncharted was such a class. Like it had such a good generation of games specifically for it, and the console was cool. It retained the same awesome controller that its predecessors had, and then more, like it was now wireless and stuff. I would put it just below the Sega Genesis myself. I'd put it in A. I do think the PS3 was a solid console with the backward compatibility. The Blu-ray player did have some advantages. It was expensive, but like I don't know, like I thought it was a really solid console. I don't have any.
You said below the Genesis?
Yeah, I think Genesis wins just because it had more of a nostalgic impact on gaming for me. Because PS3 was just like the PS2, but
This is a continuation, right? Just a continuation on what they
yeah,
already
like
doing. So that's fair.
it didn't
Yeah.
change the gaming
think
world
so,
anymore.
too.
It just
Not really innovative as more as just.
I'm fine with putting it there.
Yeah,
What do you
I'm
guys
okay with
think
that.
between the PSP and the Genesis?
I accept
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sinner? Yeah.
Yeah, because there are a lot of things about the PS3 that I think are pretty good, and like some of my subjective opinions about it, I think are very subjective. Like if you wanted a Blu-ray player, just getting an all-in-one system for it with your games console doesn't make a lot of sense for people. So like, I'm less fervent about it than perhaps I was with some other
Yeah.
choices.
I think
that's
it
what-
makes more sense now than it did at the time because I think most people don't have dedicated Blu-ray players; they have consoles for that.
Yeah.
And that's how they
true.
watch. They watch
And
movies on their
Blu-ray
consoles
players
now.
were expensive as fuck as well.
True. Yeah, at the time.
Like I don't know if they priced them in a way to go, I want to get a Blu-ray player. I may as well buy a PS3.
Yeah. I think another reason that I was maybe like a little gung ho about S tier and more willing to negotiate down is that The Last of Us is like my favorite game of all time. So
It's a very
to
solid
me,
game.
to me, it's like, oh, it's got to be S tier because that's where I played The Last of Us. So
Right.
I can see your guys' reasoning for bumping down, and then
Mm.
I think A is pretty solid still.
We've
I
also
guess
been very, very Sony positive.
yeah, we don't want to be
especially in the S
Sims,
tier.
right? You know what
Yeah. I mean,
Sims.
we have 3 in the A tier and 2 in the S tier, so we're still kind of.
I mean, it's not our fault that
But
Sony
it's
just
not
puts
our
out
fault.
bangers, right?
They're
They put
bangers.
out
Yeah,
bangers,
exactly,
you know? Like,
exactly.
we can't control that.
We
Oh,
can't.
they
control.
defined a lot of gaming in the 90s and early 2000s to start
Yeah.
off with, you know, like
Yeah.
it's hard to.
Sorry,
I
they've been the
really
most
don't give
consistent.
a fuck about console fanboy wars, okay?
No.
Because believe me, my favorite console of all
No.
time, technically according to this tier list, would be the PC, because the PC's on it, right? But
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, Sony's the best of all time. Take that, Xbox.
It is notable though that the lowest rank we have for Sony is the PSP near the bottom of A tier. Like
Yeah. Well, anyway,
There's still time.
Yeah,
there's still time. Yeah,
adjusting for inflation, PS3 was $499 or $599 when it came out, which inflation-wise would be $733 or $879.
Yikes!
I saw that. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
That is an A tier console bargain.
I think I probably just threw my military signing bonus at it, so I didn't care. I'm like, give me the PlayStation.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You got like an influx of a little bit of money at the right time, so you're like, I'm buying the new thing. I did that with the 360 myself.
The PS3 was, speaking of 360, the PS3 was a Gen 7 system, and what better to compare it to than the Xbox 360?
This is going to become very difficult for me.
Oh my gosh.
I think I have. Maybe it's just about the time of my life, but I'm biased towards the 360 as well. But go on, Gary.
Oh, you want me to go first?
I mean, you seem excited. I don't want to catch you.
Maybe Gary shouldn't introduce the console.
Well, I mean, maybe when I'll let someone else go, but I think you'd be surprised where I want to put it in my brain.
D tier.
I love the Xbox 360 enough that I bought 4 of them thanks to fucking Red Rings of Death. So
it definitely has to be
there's,
for that.
There's the elephant in the room
okay.
straight away.
Let's talk about Red Ring of Death because it was a huge part of the console, and there's no way we can talk about it with that.
Yeah.
But just real quick before I set it up, I'd like to set up the 360 because Microsoft came out with the Xbox, and Halo was a huge success, but people weren't exactly like fully embracing them yet, and it was the Xbox came out alongside the PS2, which is, I mean, some might say the greatest console of all time, and we have it as high S tier on our list. So, but I feel like with the release of the 360, people really embraced Microsoft as like, okay, these guys are for real, as like a mainstay console manufacturer. 360 was very popular. It had Gears of War on launch, which was a huge game, and they came to play with this one. And I think no matter where we put it, this was probably their most notorious console, I will say, just based on the console itself.
They really expanded upon what they started off with the Xbox when it came to Xbox Live. And I think the Xbox 360 was one of the first consoles where the idea of getting your games online in the store with just like one credit card payment, as opposed to having to go to like a physical store and buy the box. It was like the first console where increasingly people were like for instance, an indie game, The Documentary, they're freaking out when their game gets put on Xbox Live so that people can start buying it online, as opposed to being like, you have to get Super Meat Boy by going to your local GameStop and finding Super Meat Boy there, kind of thing. So I think that was very
you have to find this guy in a
influential.
trench coat in the back alley of Skid Row in Los Angeles. Yeah.
So I think that, and the fact that it was actually quite cheap, if I recall, when it came out. It was a pretty easy games console to buy. Introductory price was about $300 in the US for the 360 core, or $400 for like the 20 gigabyte one. So I think it was a pretty like accessible console in a lot of ways. I had a mostly good experience with it. I also got lucky though, because I bought the Elite or whatever it was, the black one, and that was the one that everybody said, if you buy this one, you probably won't get Red Ring of Death. And it was all the later
release, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
So I got quite lucky with that, and I do feel like there was times where I felt a bit kind of, what's the phrase, nickel and dimed a bit. For instance, Xbox Live had a lot of those moments where it's like, you can buy this DLC for exactly the amount of Xbox Live points, where you can't buy the cheapest one. You have to buy the second.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like you have to buy the £10 redeem card, because if you buy the £5 redeem card, the DLC is worth £6 worth of Xbox Live points.
Yeah,
Right.
so like my thoughts on the Xbox 360 in terms of that stuff was, it was very innovative in terms of indie developers. It was fantastic for indie devs, but it was also quite innovative for microtransactions and screwing with people to see how you can get money out of people. It was quite innovative for that. Like, not always bad. Like, developers need to learn how to make money out of their, their audiences and their market and stuff. And then to the games list that we mentioned, like Gears of War, one of my favorite games of all time. I played that on the hardest difficulty.
Insane.
Own, and I did it.
Well,
That last
General
boss
Ram on Insane
yeah,
Solo.
what a dick. But
Yeah.
when you do it, that's the most satisfaction I've ever had. Like Bloodborne was great, but like Gears of War on the hardest difficulty, now that.
Yeah.
And then there was like Halo 3, one of the greatest like co-op games of all time.
Yeah.
And then like two of the, I mean, I didn't play one of them, but I know it's got very high reviews. Like people think of it fondly as Lost Odyssey, and the other one is Blue Dragon. Blue Dragon's one of my
Surprising amount of
favorite.
JRPGs. I think they really tried to make it
Yeah.
a console that sold more in Japan, and it didn't really work out, but they tried.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
the
they
only
had-
downside of those two games, I believe they're both developed by Mistwalker, which
Yeah.
is now owned by Sony.
Lost Odyssey
Well-
is very depressing. It's about
Oh my god, I couldn't finish it.
yeah.
I couldn't finish
I wish
Lost
the battle
Odyssey.
system was a bit more interesting, because I like the whole idea of like living forever kind of sucks because everyone you love will die, and you won't. And I'm like, wow,
Right.
this is fun, but it was actually a pretty cool, deep, like philosophical game. So one thing I wanted to point out, actually, if you want to feel how far we've come when it comes to gaming, do you remember the controversy of Bethesda selling the shiny horse armor?
No.
No.
So for Oblivion, Bethesda sold a DLC where you could buy armor for your horse, and it made huge waves. They were like the subject of ridicule because they sold horse armor for $2.50, and people were like, "Who's gonna buy some horse armor for $2.50? That's insane! How do they hate their players? I can't believe they're making us pay for this cosmetic DLC." And now people barely even blink without spending $2.50 in a game, or $5 or whatever for
Yeah.
inflation. But back then, Bethesda was like seen as the butt of the joke for selling this thing. They were like,
This-
it was corporate greed gone wild.
This is what I mean.
Mhm.
Like it's like it was the era of like microtransactions starting to settle in, and that was partially because of the way indie games were going. You know, like you spend $3 on the store and you have a game, and it was as easy as that. There's one other game I wanted to mention just before like we shift over to it. Is the other game that made me want to be a game dev, which doesn't get doesn't get enough love, and it's a game called Far Cry Instincts Predator. I think, yeah, it's one of the Far Cry games, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I used to build little horror games in there, because there was like a map editor. It was really diverse, and you could play multiplayer on the maps. And there was a Predator mode where you could hunt down your teammates or your opponent. And I would I'd make little horror games that my friends would have to try and survive getting from one point to the other. And I would play as the monster, and I would
That's
learn
cool. how
how to like turn, and that's what started to program my brain to be like, I want to make a horror game.
Right.
And I think Far Cry Instincts Predator is just fantastic.
Hmm.
Excellent game.
Cool. Yeah,
so yeah,
I haven't heard of that one.
So shockingly, I actually have quite a high opinion of the Xbox 360.
Me too.
Despite
Well,
the dread.
we do need to talk about the Red Ring of Death. Because we talked about all the pros and stuff, but that was a huge con, right? The
Yep.
fact that it had, for anyone that doesn't know, the ring would light up green for Microsoft when you turned it on, and if it lit up red, then that means that you had an issue, and
I believe it
your
was
console
3
was
red
basically
lights, right?
basically bricked. Yeah, something like that. I never had it, and I had an original Xbox 360, like the one that supposedly always got it. I never had it. In fact, I booted up just a few months ago, and it was still working great. So I guess I got really lucky. I never experienced any of that. But how did y'all's luck fare?
Yeah, mine died. I had one. It died. Fortunately, Microsoft were really good. So you could call them up and they would send someone to collect it, and they would take it off and they would fix it and they would send it back to you. No cost. They were really good about it. Very I remember being like impressed by their customer service as well. It's so polite. And then when I got it back and I turned it back on, I was so nervous because of how loud it was. I sold it. And I think... Because it just scared me at that point. It just because it was.
Yeah.
I think that was before I had a PS3. I think I had an Xbox first, and like it died fairly early into its life for me. So yeah, I sold it, and I think I got a PS3 after that. But yeah, so I had one die, and it was sad. And I know, Doug, did you say you had like?
I ended up getting like
die?
4, yeah. So I think my original one, and then my second one, and then the third one. Did you guys ever heard of the towel trick?
No,
I used it-
Towel trick.
the
I
towel
heard about
trick.
that. Yeah.
You basically would wrap your Xbox in towels and then turn it on, and let it overheat until it died, and then that would fix the red ring issue.
Did that work?
Yeah,
Really?
it literally worked. So my third one, the towel trick fixed it, and then I played it for like another number of months, and then it crapped out again, and I got the fourth one. So I ended
That's
up
There was like a
crazy.
soldering problem where they
Yep.
think that heat
Yeah.
was causing the soldering to not work anymore because they did like a different approach. Apparently, there's been a lot of articles about how high the failure rate was. And at first Microsoft were like, "Oh, it's within like the 3 to 5% that you're allowed to have for tech." But
Mhm.
the latest estimate by warranty provider SquareTrade said it was 23.7% in 2009. And a
Yeah.
Game Informer survey said it was 54.2%, which I think might not be
That might
terribly
That sounds a
accurate.
little high.
Sounds a bit
Yeah.
too high. Yeah.
Remember they like 1 in 2
Well-
Xbox 360s with Red Ring. That's a bit wild.
But I do
Yeah.
agree. I agree with what Gary said, though. They made it very easy to get it replaced. And I remember in the moment, like it was like the reason I did the towel trick wasn't because like I couldn't afford it. I was going to get another Xbox for the Red Ring, but you had to mail it in. So it took forever. And I just wanted to
Right.
keep playing my game. So I was like, fuck,
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
take 2 weeks off from gaming. So I'm just going to towel trick it. But yeah, they replaced it every single time. It was under the warranty, but it just was you had to physically
glad they did
mail it
that.
in. You had to mail
Yeah.
it in. You couldn't just
Yeah.
like take it to a store. So it was a real pain.
I remember seeing that people were also fixing it at home by, Sino alluded to this with the soldering problem, but they would solder pennies onto like to make a heat sink on
Mhm,
on the actual like circuit board inside, and that would apparently fix red rings.
I never
That's
heard of that,
interesting.
but that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's like
Which
the
is
mod,
kinda
like
crazy that you can
the
do that.
upgrade from blowing into the Mega Drive game.
Yeah, that's
Just
the
soldering
modern
a penny,
equivalent.
like gluing pennies to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be remiss to not ding them for that because it
Yeah.
was a pretty bad situation for a lot of people. Like, they innovated in a lot of ways with the 360, and some of their innovation was also quite dark-sided, like sort of predatory. The whole idea of, I remember one thing, I think it was the PS3 when you bought something, it was just like, here's the price in your currency in your region, and Xbox were
Yes,
like,
yeah.
you need to get points, and then you use the points to buy it, so it like obfuscates how much you're spending. They were kind
Right.
of a pioneer of that too. So it was great
Mhm.
that they furthered online distribution of games, because now I can get little indie titles without being like, where am I going to find it? But
Right.
there was some dark-sided stuff with the
Ah,
360.
There's just a part of me that goes, that predatory like system of like buying the on-store currency and stuff. I do think it has benefits though, because like it encourage like games use it now. DVD uses it, like just games all over the place use it because it's a good system for keeping players invested in the game, and it keeps the game having money coming in, so it lets them continue to develop it. Like I think it encourages people to, like, companies to make DLC and stuff. Like
But
I don't know.
the point I'm trying to make is, why would you have a system where you have to buy points as opposed to just being like, if you want this, it'll cost you however much in your currency?
The same reason
Right.
why you play poker with chips.
Mhm.
Like it's just a kind of
Well, you play poker with chips because moving money around is kind of tedious.
Yeah, and there's a separation. Like if you're trading pound coins or whatever, or dollars, like it feels more real. Like there's I can see why it is predatory, but I'm just saying, like, I think from a business sense, it was good for the industry to find ways to encourage people to spend money in their games.
Mm-hmm. I've heard some people say it can be better for some territories where it's harder to be able to just like participate in online stores.
Oh,
And some
that's a good
economies
point.
it's
Yeah.
like really difficult, and like having this kind of point system so that they can get like codes or cards is a little bit easier than just trying to pay with like they don't all have like a debit card that's accepted in whatever, you know.
Right.
So there's like pros and cons basically, which is how I would say. Also, the 360 had quite a good controller, just to throw that out there.
Oh, the
It
Xbox
did.
controller is
They-
fantastic.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
did what the
it's
PS2
good that we
controller
mentioned
did.
that, because like the Xbox controller, we dinged them for that because it was too big. It was too, you had hands to
Yeah.
handle it. But 360 they finally like, and they've pretty much kept it that way since then for the Xbox One and everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's basically the same controller.
I mean,
Where would we like to
yeah,
put it?
I use it on PC. It's
Yeah,
basically
me
an
too.
Xbox
Oh, you got your
360
controller
controller.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it
Um,
feels good, but it's not that different from the 360 version. So they
Right.
obviously did a good design.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I,
Where do you guys want to put it?
I I'm gonna controversially jump in because I feel like you all suspect I'm gonna have the lowest opinion where it should go.
F tier.
And I'm just curious.
Not really.
I would like to put it controversially just above the PS3.
So you actually preferred it to the PS3 of that generation? Because I did.
I think it had a bigger impact. I think it was
Mhm.
more innovative. I think I have a stronger connection to the console itself. Like the games, whatever. But like the console
Yeah.
itself, I just think it was. I think it won that generation, even though the PlayStation probably sold more or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think the Xbox 360 had a bigger impact. It set the pace for Xbox. The controller was it. If I'm going to give points for the PS2 having like such a great controller and that being like the standard for PlayStation, Xbox 360 did that.
Yeah.
I like
And
how
like,
they
although-
helped indie games really kick
Yeah,
off.
that's
that
the big
point.
one for me.
Yeah.
The marketplace being like such a huge thing. Like that was my first experience with like, oh, I can just play games. I don't have
Right.
to go to I don't have to feverishly look over reviews to decide what game I'm going to go buy from GameStop. I can just get a game that's $5
Yeah.
off the store and play
Yeah.
it. Keep myself
Yeah, like,
interested.
I would have friends over and we just like look around the Xbox marketplace for stuff.
Mhm.
And that's how I
Yeah.
found Castle Crashers. That's how I found
Oh,
Dungeon
God.
Defenders. That's how I found a lot of games on 360.
I think that
We're
if
just
the,
like, let's just check this out.
if the hardware wasn't so fucking janky, I'd be arguing for S. But I think that
I think
Yeah.
if not for the
Yeah.
Red Ring, I'd be fighting S. I'd
I
be
agree.
happy
Yeah.
to put it in S.
So I think that
Okay.
I think A is a very fair place to put it, considering
That's good.
I had to
Yeah.
put 3 of them.
That sounds good to me.
And you all thought I was going to be like, F tier, fuck them,
Nah, I
Red
thought you were-
Ring.
Yeah,
I think
thought
you
we were
like
gonna
the
have to have
idea
a-
of us thinking that you're going to trash
That's
it.
true. Yeah, that's
You don't
that's
ever.
true.
Yeah.
You haven't come off as if you're going to trash it
I
so
think
far,
you-
to my opinion.
Yeah.
I
I think- I think that-
us.
I
No,
think the one
please.
plus about the one plus about the Red Ring, we remember it. It was
Yeah.
like an important part of gaming
Yeah.
culture.
Gaming history.
And isn't
Everyone
that the
knows
best
what-
part of gaming? The
I mean,
memories.
I guess.
The real Red Rings were inside of us the whole time.
Like, if I was in a car accident, I'd probably remember it. But I wouldn't be like, oh, I'm glad the car accident made me feel. You know? But okay, I mean, yeah.
Well, on that note, so we've done a Sony console, we've done a Microsoft console. Let's do a Nintendo one. Let's do the Nintendo Switch.
I'm going to say something that you might not expect. I'm doing a Gary here. But
Oh.
a lot of people might think that I wouldn't like this because I have been very outspoken about not liking the Wii and the Wii U. But to me, the Switch is absolutely an S tier console.
Yep.
I think
I
they
agree.
took
No
I think
question.
they took the ideas that the Wii and the Wii U were going for that were good and actually like kind of properly developed a slightly more expensive console that could do them properly. So like the motion controls work quite well. The idea of having like the little screen that you can take off or whatever that the Wii U kind of had without like the pro battery life of the little tablet thing, they did that really well. The idea of being able to play something like a kind of handheld console and being like, okay, and just putting it in like a thing beside your TV and then playing it on the TV on the go. I think the Switch is just a fantastic console that is also shockingly not that expensive for what it
Mhm.
offers.
I mean,
Yeah.
And I think it really takes what the Wii and Wii U were kind of building blocks, steps towards. And then
Yes.
this
Yeah.
was like the culmination
The-
of those innovations, I would say.
Yeah, the Wii U walked so the Switch could run. Absolutely.
I would, when I'm not slagging it off for comedic value, I would say that.
well, what's crazy too is like even if it was expensive, would it fucking matter? This thing's got longevity. It's been 7 years and it's still going strong, man. Like this has got this
Yeah.
console. They're probably gonna announce Wii or Switch 2 like sometime near the end of this year or early next year. But this console is legitimately like teetering on the edge of having an entire decade of relevance.
Mhm.
Like it's insane,
Yeah.
dude. Like
Yeah, not
No,
only
talk
that,
about getting your money's worth, man.
but Nintendo basically killed their own market because they had a lot of the handheld market and they kind
Yeah.
of killed it by making the Switch the new
The
handheld.
Switch.
And do you,
But
Well, the
also-
Switch is like the ultimate handheld console. of
Yeah.
all
do you,
time.
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
think the Steam Deck ever becomes a thing if the Switch doesn't come out?
No.
No.
Right?
I don't
Steam
think
Deck
so.
is like almost like directly inspired. Right?
The Steam Deck is incredible, though. I
Yeah,
actually
I'm getting
prefer
one.
the Steam Deck over the Switch just because of the library. But, there's no denying that the Switch is an S tier console,
Yeah.
hardware-wise at the very least,
Yep, yep, yep.
for me.
Do you think they're going to call it the Switch 2?
I hope so.
I hope
Yeah.
so, because like I really miss like when it was the PlayStation 2,
What if they
Yeah.
call it?
PlayStation 3.
Well, what if they call it the Switch U?
That's the thing.
Oh,
'cause
God, that would be great.
I made a big
Please.
point about the Wii U being like kind of not the greatest marketing because people didn't realize it was like a new console, the casuals, right? And with
Right.
the Switch, they're basically about to do like a Switch U. So it might pay off because the Switch has more. It feels more necessary if you're like a gamer. Like the
Yeah.
way that you kind of use it and play it is like it's so useful and handy, and it's really good for like parties with the way that the Joy-Cons flip out, so you have like a little mini controller. It's really easy
Mhm.
to set up. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I think the games industry's like really been lacking is like local fun gameplay together with people in the same room. It's become
Yeah.
so like online focused that it's really annoying sometimes to be like, what is a game that we can all just like play physically together that isn't like you have to go off into your room and have a separate TV or something. The
Right.
Switch still offers that too, which is like what old consoles used to have more of.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I think the Switch is an easy S tier for me.
And in addition to all the hardware advantages, the Switch has a surprisingly strong library. You've got one of my favorite Mario games ever, Super Mario Odyssey. Very strong entry in the series. You've got many people's favorite Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. That's a very high-profile Switch game. As well as its sequel,
Oh.
Tears of the Kingdom. But anyway,
Can't
but
wait
you've
to see
also
the
got
comments
like,
about that.
whatever. They've been subjected to my Breath of the Wild slander for a long time. It's not slander, it's truth. Truth bomb. But then you've also got like, I mean, was it Metroid Dread, which I haven't played, but I've heard great things about. You've got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like the definitive version of Mario Kart 8 is on the Switch.
Pokemon
Even though it's a Wii U game. Sorry, what'd you say, Gary?
Pokemon Unite.
Pokemon
Yes.
Unite.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, there's a ton of Pokemon games on Switch. There's the new Pokemon Snap that they came out with. There was Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu,
Oh,
which I think were
yeah.
really fun. Was it Arceus? Or is it
Yes,
Arceus?
yeah.
Yeah,
How do you pronounce that?
Yeah. Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield. Like, probably more Pokemon games came out for Switch than any other console. Whether or not that's a good thing, I guess is subjective. But it's got a very strong game library. And I think even if they had put out like GameCube 2 or something, I think I still would be fighting for A tier at least, just based on the library. So I have no problem putting this S.
I'm not going to fight against S tier. I think Switch is great.
Awesome.
Doug, you also like it?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I am not really adding much because you guys are basically just taking the words out of my mouth. Like, the library is fantastic. The tech is fantastic. Price point is fantastic.
Yeah.
The only knock is like we already spent time earlier in the podcast trashing Nintendo as a company, but otherwise,
Well,
they're
yeah.
great.
I mean, yeah.
Online gameplay is maybe a bit annoying on the Switch.
But that's always been a weakness for them, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Nintendo's always
online
they've
gameplay.
always like neglected online, but I don't know. I think that at this stage of the game, online's not too bad. I play DVD on my
Yeah.
Switch like constantly. I have
Well-
no issues with that. I play Fortnite, I play Fall Guys.
Mhm.
the last few
Yeah, I played
months, so-
Fortnite on the Switch as well. And now you can finally play what people have been asking for like decades for, right? You can play Mario Party online on the Switch. Didn't they
Yeah,
add that?
although
Yep.
it doesn't work great if you're like super far away from each other, unfortunately. It's like peer to peer and it doesn't handle the lag terribly
Oh my
well,
gosh,
sadly.
Nintendo.
Yeah, I know.
Bro, like it's
but it
not
is
that
possible.
hard. It's
It is
2024.
possible. Like if you were within the same country as each other, I think it would be fine. But I struggle if it's like anybody West Coast. I think it doesn't work very well because it's a bit too far away. But yes, having the ability to play it online has been pretty
Yeah.
fun, and it's nice to. They're getting there. I think Nintendo's still
getting
a little
there.
reticent when it comes to that type of stuff.
They're about 15 fucking years behind, but they're getting there.
Also, I
Good
don't know if
job,
this is
Nintendo.
true, but maybe I haven't been keeping up. But does anybody else feel like Nintendo is really hesitant to put stuff on sale?
Yes.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
I made a
It's like
joke
you have to
about
always
that.
pay
their
full
first party
price.
games.
I made a joke
Their
about
first
that
party
recently.
games
It's like
never go on
fucking
sale.
Luigi's Mansion 2 is still $60. Like
my
gosh.
they're so proud of their shit. They're like, we'll never make it cheaper ever.
It's because Nintendo, like, super fans will always buy things at full price.
Yeah.
They know that you're gonna pay it, so why would they not charge it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Frankly, some of this stuff, it's like I can't really blame them, I guess. So where do we want to put it in S tier? Do we want to put it below the PS1, above the PS1?
I
What are we
would
thinking?
say below the PS1. Like
That's
I think
what
it's
I'm thinking.
I would say it's like among the best of the modern consoles.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's not had the maybe in like 10 years we'll look back and be like, okay, the Switch is like the first, like it's number one of S tier, but like I just don't know. PlayStation 1 and 2 are just such a big deal, I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
But
I think
I'm
that's
happy
fair.
I'm happy to hear
Yeah,
the counter
no.
argument.
No, I have no
I would
counter
put it
argument, really.
there. There's some arguments for
It's
putting it
hard-
above, but I mean, PS1's my favorite console, so
I would say
Yeah.
I would say that as far as with the way that gaming has evolved over the years, and with like where gaming is today, as far as like PC being so dominant over console, like it just feels like it'll be really hard for a modern console to knock out any of these like really innovative consoles that released in the back in the heyday, right? Like, what's a
Yeah.
console gonna do for us today that the PlayStation 1 did for us in the 90s? You know what I mean? Like, it just
Yeah,
I feel like this
Mhm.
having that impacts. Like, I think the Switch is as close as it's gonna get, honestly.
I mean,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it's still not gonna. I'm not gonna leapfrog it over either of the dynamic PlayStation.
Yeah. I don't think so.
everything in S tier is great anyway. Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter
I
where
mean-
it is in S tier.
Everything's most of the things in A. Everything in
They're
A is
fucking
pretty
great too.
good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, even I even love. I mean, the NES and B. I love that console. So
I love my
Agreed.
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Below
Exactly.
B is when
they were
Yeah,
like,
it starts to.
Harder to
No,
love.
stop shitting on the Wii for like 1 second and let me.
It's there, it's
I
C.
love the Wii. All right,
I know. I
love
feel a
the
little
Wii
bad
so
because
much.
you had a lot of really good memories with it, and that is important.
Yeah.
If a console can facilitate you having good memories with it, it usually
Yeah.
like, some people would disagree, but
to pat myself on the back in character development, I didn't allow that to cause me to be a little bitch about it. I'm okay with C tier. I'm not gonna fight it. I'm not gonna fight it just because I loved it. I'm gonna
Right.
let the objective truth be the objective truth.
Dog wrote his feelings down in his diary and moved
I
on.
did, yeah, I did. And Gary knows because he stole my diary.
So we've been talking pretty high so far. We had PS3, 360, and Switch all in A tier above. Now
Some
let's
crap.
look at some crap. The PS5. The
Oh,
I mean,
you don't like it?
PS5.
Well,
No.
I haven't played it.
I was gonna say, can I give you my review? The first console in the history of video games that I have never owned. I don't have
Yeah.
one. I haven't got
Well-
any immediate plans to get one. I wouldn't know.
When did it release? 2020? 2019?
Is it that old?
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
What?
Yes. Well, see, this is what I wanted to talk about because there was like 2 straight years there where you just could not buy a PS5.
yeah.
I remember I wanted to get it and I couldn't. There was the silicon shortage where like they couldn't make chips, they couldn't make enough chips, and so
Oh,
there
yeah,
just
I
weren't
remember,
enough PS5s. So people were scalping the fuck out of these for years, and it has been on the market for at least 4 years. I'm pretty sure. I don't know the exact release date, but my thing about the PS5 is it's been out for so long, and you can finally get it now. I have one. Its dorky little spaceship looking ass is sitting on the floor right over there. First,
What do you
first
use
of
to
all,
hold the door open? What?
yeah, pretty much. It's like my kettle. I put it on the floor.
This is
I knew
John's
you were gonna
kettle.
That's the disrespect. No, it's basically a paperweight that played Spider-Man 2 for me. The amount of exclusive games that this thing has at this point is pathetic. There's Demon Souls remake, right? Which, I mean, come on. I'm sure it's fine. I haven't played it yet, but it's a remake, right? Of a game that already existed. And then there's Spider-Man 2, which was a very fun experience, but it's not going to be on any top games of all time lists. Sorry, Spider-Man fans, okay? I liked it. But the PS5 basically doesn't have anything yet. I haven't played Astro Bot yet. I hear that that's
That just came
incredible.
out,
Yeah, that just came out. So I haven't played that yet, but that's like, what, game number 3 that I can think of as far as PS5 exclusive games?
Sinno's doing some maths.
So
Sinnoh's counting.
here's a
He's looking
list
for
that I
exclusives.
found: Astro's
Okay.
Playroom, Demon Souls, which is a remaster, Destruction All Stars. This
What?
list says Final Fantasy 16 just came out on PC. Spider-Man 2, Last of Us 2 Remastered, which is a remaster. Final Fantasy Rebirth now out on PC. Rise of the Ronin, is that now out on PC or?
Oh, I forgot about that game.
And Stellar
Yeah.
Blade. That's it.
Oh, Stellar Blade.
So
Still, the anti-woke hero that we need, Stellar Blade. You can see her ass.
fantastic.
Look, you can see her ass right there. This game's not woke. 10 out of 10.
People, it's just so much reaction to things sometimes these days. Things that I'm like, whatever. But yeah, or Forspoken, I guess. That Square Enix game that
See-
had the dialogue that people found annoying. Ghostwire Tokyo, maybe? I don't know if that's out in anything
Was
else.
that
It just-
PS4?
PS5,
PS5.
I think.
Oh,
I just-
was it?
I don't know why I should bother getting a PS5. I really don't feel
Yeah.
any need.
There's no need to,
No.
honestly.
I love PlayStation, but I don't want one.
Well, I mean, it's got an incredibly weak library. You couldn't buy it for a couple years. It looks terrible. And they just unveiled like a joke of a pro console.
Yeah, it's like $700 or some shit. It's like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
price
yeah, I
point's
did hear about
They
insane.
that,
come you have to buy the disc drive separately for like another $100 too, don't
Yeah.
you?
It's 700
Yeah.
stock. Like that's
Shouldn't it-
insane.
Shouldn't it be like later in the life cycle you find it a little bit cheaper to get, not more
Yeah.
expensive?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I mean, I have a PS4 Pro, but I don't like this Pro like half cycle.
£700. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's
Yeah.
like
So
$800 and something
expensive.
dollars.
Yeah. It's awful, and that's about how much it weighs too.
Nah.
Thing.
Damn. Owned.
Got him.
But yeah, I'm a PS5 hater despite owning one. Also, like all the other consoles that I have are like they will fit in this like IKEA cabinet that I have called Calyx. It has like 13-inch by 13-inch cubes, like cubbies in it. All of them will fit in there except the PS5 because it's just too damn big.
And that's why it holds the door open.
And that's why it holds the door open on the ground. Exactly, Gary.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not gonna say F tier, but
Oh, I was gonna say F tier.
okay.
Like,
I mean,
what impact has it had? No one's buying it. No one bought it. The biggest impact it's having right now is that there's a pro version that's
Can we-
ridiculously expensive that no one's gonna buy either.
Can we put it under the Wii U? I'd really like that if it was under the Wii U.
that'd be kind of
Oh,
funny.
You know,
The-
I think-
the only thing I'll make a mention of is the only people that seem to care about the PS5 seem to be people who are like, I do not like PC gaming. It has to
Yeah.
be a console.
PS5 fanboys, right? The ones that are like, I am a console gamer and I don't want to play Xbox. So that's why I'm a PS5. It's like,
Like they just really hate the idea of it being a PC, so they want a console, and then they
Uh-huh.
have to choose. But again, it's basically just like, where do you play the games? Because increasingly now it feels like, apart from the Nintendo kind of sphere
everything's
of gaming,
everywhere, yeah.
everything else, it's like, if it's not available on multiple platforms, you're like, what? Okay, I just
Right.
won't play it then.
yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
before, in the past, you were like, oh, I gotta get the PlayStation so I can play Final Fantasy, or I gotta get the Xbox so I can play Gears of War. Now it's just like, wait, you didn't put this on PC? Oh, fuck you then. I'm not gonna bother. You know?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people who like console seem to be they quite like a PS5. But yeah, I'll put it with the Wii U.
£700.
I don't care.
£700.
Yeah, it's too
That's towards buying a
expensive.
PC below the Wii U.
Yeah.
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 Also-
I love that. Everyone who acts like we're Sony fanboys overrating Sony, F tier.
Yeah.
F tier for the PS5.
Yeah.
Right next to the Xbox One.
They've also come out with this like thing where
Sure.
it's like two sides of a controller, and then you put your smartphone in the middle as like a way to try and play the PS5 as like a handheld device. But it's like it
Oh.
basically streams it to your phone.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, have you seen that before? I actually thought
That's-
it was
Yeah, I've
like
seen
a
it.
joke at first.
That sounds like such a boomer thing to do.
It's kind of cool though. If that's I've never heard of that, but that'd be kind of cool. It's like having a little Stream Deck, but you're just PlayStation.
Yeah, they're
and
trying to do the
Why-
Stream Deck thing, right?
But for
Yeah.
£700, buy a Stream
Yeah.
Deck.
I'll just exactly. I'm gonna buy
Well,
two.
you know-
They're on sale right now. They're like on sale for $350. You can get two for that. You get 2 Stream Decks for 1 PS5. Where the fuck would I buy a PS5, right?
Well, you know, not to like beat a dead horse, but they already kind of did that last generation with the PS Vita because you could remote play
Vita.
PS4
Oh,
games
That's true.
on there.
That was a good point.
That's
Vita
true,
is
yeah.
so good, bro.
If only they had kept it around.
Yeah.
Anyway, so not to bring us down too much, but we've got another bad console to get to. The Xbox Series X.
Who?
I
don't know her.
The competitor to PS5.
I have a Series S, which was like the cheaper version of the X. It's the same like generation, but it was like the smaller hard drive. Like
Was it?
a little less processing power? I think the graphics card might be a little weaker. And I'm pretty happy with it. It was cheaper, and I got it for the kids. And
Wait, am I? This is Gen 9, right? Like, so wait, which is the original?
XS Series X is the OG, and then the Series S was like Series S is like the light version of the X.
Xbox's naming conventions are so confusing.
Yep.
Because I had a panic moment where I was like, did I pick the wrong console? Like the wrong name, like the Pro version or whatever. Okay.
Yep. So again, I have personal experience with the S, and it's fine. It's lovely. It's a console. It's this generation's console. I got the Series S, so it was way cheaper. I have no complaints.
What's like the best exclusive on it?
Xbox Game Pass is like the big sell for me in terms of why I don't think that it really has exclusives any more than PlayStation does.
Because this is my thing. Is I want to go.
But for the Game Pass sub, which is like $14 a month, some shit, you can get a lot of really good games. So
yeah,
I got the S and I subscribed to Game Pass, and that was a very cheap way for me to get my kids into a lot of different games. Spent a lot of time. So
yeah, Game Pass, that is something to consider. With Xbox Game Pass though, since it is available on PC, there's no game that you can only play on Series X, right?
Nope, not at all. If you Game Pass is cross play with your PC,
right?
with your Windows account. So any games that you can play Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Game Pass, for instance, when it was on the Game Pass on your PC rather than your Xbox.
Right.
I think I know where I want to put it.
I like their controllers.
The unchanged controller, virtually unchanged.
Pretty much. The D-pad's quite nice for Street Fighter 6 that I play on my PC.
What's the proposal, Gary?
I would put it at the top of D tier.
Nope.
I think
I want C tier. I want C tier just under the Wii.
You want it?
You want it over the Xbox?
Yeah, over the original Xbox.
What?
Game Pass,
I don't like the original Xbox, but
Game Pass gives it a little bump. It being a price-friendly alternative to the other 3 current gens, the PS5 and the Series X.
I'm not gonna fight.
Considering I bullied you into putting the Wii into C tier, sure you can have this. Consider this a peace offering, Doug.
Thank you.
Consider this a peace offering.
I think this is an eye opener for me. What they should do next is make a Steam Deck.
I honestly think that might be
Game Pass deck.
Windows deck, yeah, Windows deck.
Absolutely, that should be the next one. The Gen 10.
A lot of gaming has moved towards like tablets and smartphones, so it's like you can take it on the go, and the ability to have a gaming console that you can take on the go and then put on the TV when you want, I think is one of the reasons why the Switch is so successful, and like a lot of other games companies got kind of close. So I think to make them relevant again, that could be like a really important step, and that's why the PlayStation now has that whole you can put your smartphone here, or like it has a tablet thing.
So let me see if Thieves on the go.
Yeah.
What?
See if Thieves on the go. That's what I want.
Yeah.
See if Thieves on the go.
Yeah,
so,
that's a really good idea that you have, Gary. Which means what Microsoft will do is instead copy the shitty idea and make an Xbox Series X Pro. Try and copy Sony. Let's do whatever. Because what Microsoft likes to do
make it even bigger.
What Microsoft likes to do is copy the competition and make a worse version of it, which is what they've done forever. We're looking at you, Mixer.
Copy the Switch.
So we have 3 left to go. So let's try to. I actually have to go pretty soon. So let's.
Okay.
Try
I was gonna say you look like you got a message there, John.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
His agent.
But let's go ahead and do my favorite console of all time.
Yes.
Y'all been waiting for it.
Yes.
Mhm.
It should come as no surprise at this point, I think, considering what's left. But the Super Nintendo.
I was
Yep.
expecting PS4.
I don't care. The Super Nintendo. Now, I think the Super Nintendo should be quite high.
Yeah.
I'll make my pitch for it. So, I think the Super Nintendo has one of the strongest game libraries, possibly only inferior to the PS1 and PS2. It is, in my opinion, when they kind of perfected the 2D era of gaming. There's so many good games in so many different genres. For racers, you've got like F-Zero, the original Mario Kart. For platformers, Super Mario World is arguably when 2D Mario was perfected. You've got so many like just all-time great games. Zelda: Link to the Past is some people's top game of all time. I don't agree with that, but it kind of was the perfection of 2D Zelda. And then you've got all the JRPGs on this thing, which there's a treasure trove. My favorite game of all time, Chrono Trigger, but it doesn't stop there. You've got Final Fantasy VI, which many people consider to be the best JRPG on the SNES, who don't think Chrono Trigger is that. You've got Earthbound, one of the most influential RPGs of all time, without which we wouldn't have games like Undertale or Lisa the Painful, or a lot of other similar quirky RPGs. You've got the Soul Blazer trilogy, Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma, which are influential in their own right, and one of the best games on the Super Nintendo. You've got Secret of Mana, which you could play co-op. That's more of an action RPG, but I just think that there's like an insane amount of games on the Super Nintendo, and it has one of the strongest libraries.
Absolutely.
Didn't really have a whole lot of features, but it did have a nice controller. It certainly is an upgrade from the original NES's awful controller.
Quite child-proof controller as well.
Mm-hmm.
You could those things would get bashed around and still work because it's very round and it's very easy and simple to use.
Yeah, they were tough but not uncomfortable, which the NES was tough and uncomfortable. But I mean, I can keep listing games for you. Breath of the Wild 2. I mean,
Harvest Moon.
Even Castlevania 4.
Castlevania.
I mean, Super Metroid. These are some of the best Metroidvania games ever that I just listed.
And I'll come out of a completely other genre and a completely other left field. The sports games on the Super Nintendo were when like sports games actually became fucking playable. Like it was like we got Griffey Baseball, we got Tecmo, we got fucking Super Punch Out was an excellent follow up to the OG. NBA Jam Tournament Edition. I've sunk thousands of hours into that. NHL '94 was incredible. Like there's just for me, it's
the first
like
Madden, right? With Super Nintendo.
Yep.
Yeah.
And growing up on sports games, for me, loving sports growing up. For me, that was like the first time we could really, because the NES sports games and the Genesis sports games were pretty mid.
Yeah.
Dude, a game that nobody's ever played. None of you guys have probably played. But anybody know Bill Lane Beer's Combat Basketball?
No.
God, that game's a classic.
I've probably watched somebody play it randomly and thought it was pretty funny.
So good. It was a basketball game with combat. It was like set in
Are the
space.
people is it like futuristic and it's like red and blue people?
It's like top down. It's like you jump up and shoot like, from the top down. It's yep. So lots of great games.
Super Street Fighter 2 revolutionized fighting games.
Yep.
Side scrollers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Turtles in Time.
Yeah.
There were so many beat 'em ups
NBA
on this
Jam.
thing.
Yeah.
That was on the SNES after the arcades, and that game is still fun to play to this day.
Yeah.
It's simple and it's fun, and it's all about having a little bit of swagger, as it should be.
Indeed.
He's
on fire.
I think
it's a great console.
Yeah, I think it really perfected 2D games, and I would put it S tier. I'll let you guys decide where in S tier if we agree on that, but that's where I would put it.
I definitely agree with S tier.
So I don't have a dog in the fight particularly because I haven't played it. The closest I've got to is I've played Chrono Trigger, and if Chrono Trigger is any kind of level to judge the quality of games on those by, I'm happy,
It-
quite happy for
Yeah.
S tier because I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
Chrono
yeah.
Trigger was.
Did you
fucking
mention
great.
Ogre Battle? Did you mention Ogre Battle?
I didn't even mention Ogre Battle.
Yeah,
Ogre Battle, incredible,
also
incredible game.
it had Final Fantasy 4 as well as 6.
Yes.
Also-
yes.
also-
Final 4 is quite highly lauded.
Hot-
4 is pretty good.
Hot take, but Final Fantasy 2 is the most underrated Final Fantasy game of all time.
Now, that is a hot take. Do you mean 2 is
FF2.
in actually 2?
As in 4,
US 2,
right?
US 2,
Okay, so
So 4.
Japanese 4.
Japanese
Yeah.
4, yeah.
It's
under-
the Paladin Dark
That's
Knight
very
thing,
confusing.
yeah.
I hate
it
that
was
they did
it was
that.
my favorite Final Fantasy growing up, and that maintained past Final Fantasy 7. But that was just, I think that could
Yeah.
be just me.
You go to the moon? I remember being like that.
Bro.
I'm on the moon.
Bro, it's so good.
I'm having
I
an
just,
adventure.
I just think it's underrated and a little stuck.
Yeah.
No, great console. This is why it was so annoying when we got like 1 or 2 comments that were like, "You guys clearly hate Nintendo." I'm like, just wait until we talk about the Switch and the
just wait until we talk
SNES.
about- yeah, just
We
wait
actually
until the
do
S
like some
tier.
Nintendo stuff. We just
We're
Nintendo
not
ones are coming.
biased.
I just think, yeah, it's like every genre has like an all-time banger on the Super Nintendo. It's crazy.
Yeah,
True.
even
Like
Super
the-
Mario RPG is really good.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great one.
There's so many I
For-
forget.
First time I ever got my best friend and a deep shit for calling the Nintendo Power Hotline was on Super Mario RPG.
That's
Oh.
right. Going.
So where should we put it?
S
Above the
tier.
Switch? Below the Switch?
Mm,
Do you think it innovated the SNES? I'm genuinely asking.
No, the console itself, as far as features go, I mean, you know, they made the controller better, but there's not a whole lot to talk about. They still had the cartridge system.
no.
There's nothing really to talk about outside the game library, frankly, I think. Unless there's something I'm forgetting. So I would be comfortable below the Switch.
Okay,
I'll take
that's the
that.
only thing I'm like, was it as innovative perhaps as the Switch was? But I
Yeah.
mean, again,
Yeah.
everything in S is great, so I wouldn't look
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
order too much.
Yeah. I'm just happy it's there. Phew.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right,
There's
now
Gary's
no-
like, I
no-
hate it. Imagine if Gary did hate it.
No, I have no. Like,
DJ!
the only thing I'm judging it based
I have
off
bad
is
memories with it.
I love Chrono Trigger, and I've only played that very recently. And if that's any kind of indicator, then the Super
Yeah,
Nintendo was.
It
fine.
really was. It
It's
really
a good one
was.
honestly
to have
think-
the only game played.
I honestly think, and this might be a controversial take, some N64 games, a lot actually, have not aged well because they were still figuring out the whole 3D thing. But Super Nintendo games have aged very well because
Oh,
they
yeah, absolutely.
mastered 2D by this point.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
God.
I've been playing some of them like recently, just in my off time. Like I've been playing like Breath of Fire and Soul Blazer and stuff, and you know it's they're pretty simplistic, right? But I think they still slap.
And Final Fantasy VI is my next me time game
Yep.
I'm going to play. So
Hell yeah.
Well, you should be in
looking
for a
forward to
good
that.
time with that one.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
Let's move on to the PlayStation 4.
I don't
know.
dislike it as much as the PS5, but I don't like love it a lot. I think the PS4 is the start of me being like, oh, I just might as well play it on PC. But I like the PS4 more than the PS5.
But I think well, the PS4 is going to be tough because I really like the PS4.
Okay.
But I think now is a little different than like 4 years and years and years for like, 7 years there when you could only play a lot of great games on the PS4. Like
It felt more necessary as like a purchase compared to the PS5 does now. So yeah, I definitely would give it
Yeah.
a lot more props
mean,
for that.
I
And
mean, if we
just-
go, if
it
we
was
go
a
for
good
games,
price.
For Until
Yeah.
Dawn alone, you needed a PS4.
Until-
right?
yeah, and
Right.
Bloodborne.
I mean, yeah, Until
Bloodborne's
Dawn and Bloodborne and the God of War games, and there's a lot
Uncharted
of
4,
exclusive-
I think. was
Uncharted
right.
4, yeah, PT, PS4
Okay.
is the only way that you can play
that's
PT.
very yeah, okay, you're making some good points
But-
here.
I do think it has like a pretty strong library, especially in comparison to the Xbox One. I mean, it was like the clear winner of this generation.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That's the
Xbox
point where they're
was-
like, this is how you share games. They
This is
just-
how you share games with us, yeah.
Yeah.
And they just handed the game to each other. Oh boy,
Do we-
low hanging fruit, but it made sense.
So we just
This
think
is-
just maybe like bottom of B tier, maybe? Is that what we're thinking? Is that what we're edging towards? Or do we want to go higher?
I do like how the PS4 you can just play games from
B
different
tier's only
regions on it.
Nintendo consoles right now.
Yeah.
I muted myself there, sorry. I like how with the PS4, for example, you could play Japanese games on whatever region for me. So
Oh,
it's like
really?
they weren't
It
like
was-
region
yeah,
locked
yeah,
games.
that's a good point actually. I forgot that. Yeah, PlayStation didn't have any region locked.
So I
on
played
for-
I played Danganronpa V3 in Japanese when it came out, and Persona 5 when it came out in PS4. Actually,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
I think PS4 was better than I realized. I just needed to remember a bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insomniac Spider-Man is also a PS4 exclusive that you can now play on PC.
Mhm.
But at the time, for years, it was only available on there. Arguably the best PS Vita game was only available to play elsewhere on the PS4, Gravity Rush. Let's see. Was Neo a PS4 exclusive? NIOH?
Yes.
That-
Yeah, it was. And that is like, it's like a kind of Dark Souls game, but very RPG-ish, and it's like a Japanese setting. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's good fun actually, and like using like all the different types of weapons that you would expect from like a kind of different setting gives it like a slightly fresh take compared to just
Yeah.
playing like another game that's kind of like Dark Souls. So
And
yeah.
I'll also add in that I think it had like a really good user interface when you turn the
I agree
console
with
on.
that.
Navigating around it was really good. Is this when they started to have like their own? I don't know if it was the PS3 or PS4 where the music was quite good on it as well. Playing music on it had quite like a creative.
Oh,
Like,
I think I know what
background
you're talking
thing.
about.
Forget if that
Yeah,
was
it
3
had
or
like
4.
background interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want to keep putting PlayStation consoles so high, but I feel like A tier is kind of where I would put it.
Yeah, I've been
I-
convinced. I have
Okay.
some pretty good memories, and the controller was good too.
'Cause
Yeah,
I kinda
the
like
unbroken controller that they mastered it to, they just kept going on with it.
With
The-
the little
the
pad.
bot-
Do you know what was always a shame? Do you remember the
Yeah.
PlayStation 3 was going to have that boomerang controller?
Oh,
and it was
yes.
like, no, thank you.
Oh yeah, the PS4 had like the touchscreen and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they kind of they changed the perfect controller, and it was still perfect.
Yeah.
We
And,
think maybe-
and obviously, the way it was integrated with Until Dawn.
Right.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. That was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
The only
But
thing that
real
I
good
don't
fun.
like about the controller, and this is going to be such a boomer moment, I kind of miss having start and select. When you say press
That's
the options
true.
or share button to me, I'm like,
That's
what?
true.
What
Yeah,
is
that
this?
is a little weird.
I
That's
want my
bad.
start and
Yeah.
select back. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a child of the 90s, I guess, or something, but
I think I would argue I like A tier as long as it's at the bottom because it's like it's an A tier console, but it really didn't like I think everything else in A tier was more innovative and more like generational like kind of thing. Like PS4 was basically just like you guys are doing a good job, keep it up, and it was
Right.
great. It was great.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't want to see it above the PS3 or Xbox. 360.
Resident Evil Resistance.
All right. Anyway.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
anyway.
Bottom of A.
All right.
Okay.
under GameCube.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
But you convinced
We
me.
have-
I'll take back what I said at the beginning. I actually did have a good time with the PS4.
I do think a
All
lot
right,
of it's
awesome.
saved by its, because as Doug said, it's not that innovative, but I think it's a little bit saved by its excellent library.
It's real. Absolutely.
Yeah, true.
Inarguably. The
Speaking
library.
of excellent libraries, we have one last entry, and this may be a surprise to some people, but we're gonna rank PC.
Oh, right, yeah, I forgot we were doing that was in the list.
That's right.
that
Where do we
seems-
want to put
that's-
PC, guys?
that seems fair. That seems fair to rank against them.
I think so. Yeah.
I think the best way to crown off a console tier list is by putting the PC above all the consoles in S tier. Because we can do our job on it and we can play
Yeah.
like all the games basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
top of S tier. You can play actually any consoles games pretty much on the PC up through PS3, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you're
All
gonna
right.
get
I
much
do love
resistance to that.
emulators.
That was a fun little moment.
Microsoft, Sony, can you work together so I can play Blue Dragon?
Yeah. There's a couple of like
I,
weird 360 games that I'm like, oh, I wish I could easily play them on PC. I don't know how
Right.
emulators are for 360
Yeah.
yet, but
Oh, they're still kind of working through the kinks, I think, but they're pretty good from what I've seen.
Yeah, I
Um,
want to play Lost Odyssey. I just want to play it.
Mhm.
So just to wrap up, that'll do it for our console tier list. We've got in the S tier PC, PS2, PS1, Switch, and the SNES.
there was
No.
Nintendo games or consoles there.
Yeah, see,
Two.
there's
Two
two Sony,
comment section.
there's two Sony, there's two Nintendo, and there's one Microsoft. The PC.
yeah.
yeah,
Hey,
pretty
That's right,
even.
Microsoft. You're welcome.
Well done,
Yeah.
Microsoft. You win.
Yeah, just don't look at F tier.
Or 80.
But yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
right, 360's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right, guys. That was pretty fun. I think our best season yet.
That's probably our best. I think it's our
so.
best tier list. Yeah,
Probably our
right?
best ever. Yeah,
Yeah,
best tier
that was-
list too.
that was-
It took three
Three
to finish.
seasons.
You know what's
We did
crazy
it.
though? It took 3 seasons and we never had like a serious argument. Like there was no real big sticking points. I don't think it was all
True.
just like pretty easy to work through stuff. It still took 3 seasons.
True.
I'm surprised I haven't. People seem to have taken my Wii rant with good humor. Actually, I thought there'd be more people being like, "I'm gonna send them an email."
Well, the good thing is,
I'm
the
telling
good thing
Nintendo.
well, for me,
I'm
it's
telling
that
Nintendo.
It's that we take so much time between seasons that I had time to grieve and get over it and be, I could heal
Right.
before we
Right,
met again.
And
Healing.
I had time to repent slightly as well.
No,
I
never repent.
realized
Oh, you
that
did.
I was a little harsh, but it was kind of funny. So
So it was very funny.
It was a lot
Thank
of
you.
funny.
It was a
lot
lot
it was
of
really
funny.
fun to do
I
this
was-
with you guys.
I
Actually,
was the one
like your
getting
listeners.
hated.
Yeah, it was
Yes.
fun. We'll
Yeah.
have to do another one, but we'll take a break for a while.
Yeah, maybe season
Yeah.
60.
Yeah, we'll try to do one that we can finish in one episode.
That would be
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
All right, well, thank you all for listening, especially to all our fans in Romania. We're still fans of you too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we are.
Yeah, we
For
are.
realist.
Good good. On behalf of me, Gary the Hot Cross,
Bye.
and Doug Running Man,
Bye.
and Sino Beats.
Bye.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Hugs and kisses.
Bye.
Bye.
Hugs and kisses.
We end like a children's show.